Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, not the face you were probably expecting to see on this fantastic Friday. I wanted to address a few things before we bring everybody in. Uh, Cody is going to take a bit of a break from this. We don't know how long. I don't think I would hope it's not going to be an extended time. But this past week, rooting for the Panthers, all of those things has been a difficult situation. And why that it's a tough circumstance because we have a bad team, and we, at least by all appearances, we have a bad team. And then you add the drama that has taken place this past week. I just ask that everybody do me a favor. Tonight's going to be about positivity. We can talk about the Panthers, say that they're not good, but we want to maintain a level of optimism and not have this go into a toxic direction. And that's why I'm here. I want to make sure that everybody understands we are all family. We are all going to be fans of the same team. And this team is the reason that we still have heartache every single week that we see this team not succeed. And so I appreciate all of you for tuning in. I have a lot of people here ready to talk about the Panthers with me. So let's move this on to the few guys I already have in here. I'm going to add a few. So forgive me, guys. This is a, make sure I got this right. Not that one. Sorry, here we go. That's it. We've got a few people in here, and let's start. Kyle was the first one to come across the Friday free for all tonight. He was in the waiting room for me moment I joined up. So, Kyle, how's it going? Tell us what your thoughts are, and we'll take this one step at a time.
Yeah, CK, it's going great, man. Another Friday. Just glad to be here. C3 Legion is family to me, as you alluded to, and I wouldn't dream of a place that I would rather be on a Friday night, whether my team is top of the world or bottom of the league. I'm here for each and every one of you, and hopefully I can add as much to the conversation as I take away from it.
Absolutely. It's tough, man. And it's like, here's the thing. We are week one. I know we say this every year. This isn't the final product. And as much as so many of us don't like, I say many of us, I'm not a big person who's a negative, who looks at Dave Canales in a negative light. But he says that it takes a while for us to be us, to get to the point where we're us. And that's what this is about, and so I'm glad you're here. I know first Friday free for all that we've had since we've had that massive loss. And so it's tough, man. And so what I want to do, I'm going to save D's for last here, because he's always coming with that energy. Chuck, man, you were the second person to join me in that waiting room. Tell me your thoughts. You saw Sunday happen.
Right.
What's going through your mind, dude?
What's going through my mind, honestly, when I first saw that, I was I was just shocked they would lose by that much.
Mm-hmm.
I was not shocked about the L. It's the way that the point differential and the way they look.
Yeah.
That's what really was concerning. But having had some thoughts, to be honest with you, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Mm-hmm.
But I always think about Dan Campbell and the Lions.
Right.
They were still laughing stock and getting things through. I'm going to be patient. I hope one day we all look back at it and laugh, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I want this to be a situation. I know. It's at first it was more sense, but I hope so. I hope we get improvement. But today, this is probably the most important week 2 game in franchise history.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I think when you have a start like that, you're coming into your home opener at Bank of America Stadium. Okay. It's the 30th season of your organization. And so, yes, I mean, you're talking about this is a big game. This is not considered a powerhouse team. They're also in a somewhat of a rebuild. Maybe theirs is probably more likely a retool than ours is. And so I think that I think it 100% is right. I think it is a win now type of a situation. Because if you don't, I don't know how long you keep the fan base in a position where they aren't just going up in smoke, because we don't have the pedigree. We don't have the pedigree of a Browns organization. We don't have the pedigree of, and I say pedigree of a Browns organization, I mean the history. We don't have the history of a lot of these teams. They have the benefit of being bad and having fans that will stay with them until death. And I don't think the Panthers are going to have that luxury with a very large portion of their fan base. But man, I agree. It's a tough situation. But I'm, like I said, I'm glad that all you boys are in here to talk us up, talk about this and what have you. Next, I'm going to go to Britt, Panther. Alex, man, I appreciate you popping through. Tell me a little bit about what your thoughts, because I know you don't get the chance to stick around for the cat calls as you talked about.
Yeah, I just wanted to join tonight to give a little bit of an opinion and give some thoughts. It's quite fitting, actually, you mentioned at the start there about needing to stick together and this whole thing being built on family, because it's true. At the end of the day, I think that's the thing I want to remind everybody the most. I know there's a lot of shit going on at the minute online. Everyone's talking about Bryce. Everyone's talking about the team absolutely sucking. And I think to be waiting here for 7 months or whatever it is to have that performance as a first performance, everybody is going to be upset. Everyone is going to be disappointed. But at the end of the day, everybody's still going to be here. Everybody's still going to be here long after Tepper leaves. And as much as we have many, many down points, many dips, we've got to remember that when the peaks come, that's just going to make them feel a whole lot higher and a whole lot better when we do have those high moments.
Yeah.
So as a fan base, we need to stick together. It's not all about Bryce. I know Bryce had a horrendous game. I mean, like I said, I couldn't have been more excited before the game. And then to have his first throw be an interception, I just had in my head, in my hands. And I'm pretty sure everybody else had those exact same thoughts, that we've waited 7 months for this and this is absolute shit. But it's not just on Bryce. The defense, you've got to remember, he has no control over how many points we get hit for. And the defense didn't cover themselves in glory. We, I think, had points against us on pretty much every drive, or at least for the first 2 or 3 quarters, it seemed like that. But it's not all on Bryce. Yes, it was a shocking performance, but there's a long way to go. And at the end of the day, like I say, the main thing is that we need to stick together as a fan base. It's not going to do any good by jumping on each other and having arguments online.
No, not at all. And that's one of the things that's kind of the whole inception of the internet. It's allowed for this ability for people to just not have any remorse for the things they say. And it's difficult. I've been, in my younger years known as being a bit of a hothead on the internet. And as I've gotten older, I've realized that it's not worth it. It's not worth it, especially for what we have in, there is not a single thing in the world that is worth your mental health in that regard. There's not a single thing that is worth, especially not a game. And so it's tough, man. I'm glad you're here. Again, like I know you'd mentioned it, you don't get a chance to join in with the Tuesday night shows. So always happy to have you here.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to jump off. Yeah. I'm going to let you get on with it. And
absolutely, dude. Hey, I appreciate you, man. You have a good one, all right?
Catch us in a bit. Ciao, lads.
All right. We'll do you later, man. Alex, Cali Cat, I know we've kind of touched base on the game and what have you. Can you tell me, I know I'm kind of shooting off the cuff here. What do you really expect out of this team come Sunday?
Yeah. First off, happy Friday, fellas. Like everyone has alluded to. We're all Panther fans here. We're all frustrated. But, we all got to respect one another at the same time, too, and each other's opinions. So, that's first and foremost. But as far as the expectations go, I think we always expect like whatever we hear in the news, whatever, like it's always exciting. The build up from Wednesday to Sunday is just like it pumps every fan up. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Any team every Sunday. So it's just, but for me as personally, just seeing that none of these guys, none of the starters, and I don't want to put blame on on each person, but a little bit goes on the head coach, on Canales. I mean, they didn't play any of their starters in the preseason. So what did you expect week one? I mean,
Yeah.
there's the timing's going to be off. Everything's going to be a little bit off. Defense looked horrible. They did, it wasn't great last week. So in a game like this week, it's tough. I want to give the team, not only Bryce, but the team at least a few weeks, like sometime in October, to see if it changes from there. Because the first few weeks is going to be, to me, just implementing the new staff, the new plays. I think it's going to take time. But this game this week, I mean, history says we're 6-1 against the Chargers. I mean, we play well against them. It's a different team, obviously, than 4 years ago when we played them. This is Jim Harbaugh. I mean, it's a good team. It's a different Charger team, different mentality. Usually, the Chargers, they're the biggest choke job of a franchise anyone knows. But this is a different team. I watched them last week. And I mean, they played well at times, and they just run the ball, which we haven't been able to stop. I noticed my buddy's a huge Chargers fan, and he was like, "Man, Herbert didn't even throw the ball for 400 yards."
Yeah.
And they still won the game. So I mean, I said, yeah, they might not even need to throw the ball 400 yards. It's just they run the ball and they play good defense. So these are things that build up a successful championship team. They're gonna take some time, but any given Sunday, honestly, Carolina could come out this week. Bryce could look sharp, and then we go back and say, man, is Bryce the guy again? So like, I don't know. I want to give it some time. I think we all got to look at it and be like, well, let's be in Bryce's shoes for a second. The guy has had a different head coach the last 2 years, different offensive coordinator. And yeah, we could talk about his size. We could talk about a lot of things, his footwork, but at the same time, like, we got to give this guy an opportunity with a rookie head coach, with a rookie offensive coordinator. We got to give them some time and be patient. And just as fans, we all got to just respect each other, respect the team.
Yeah.
And like when they do come up and start winning games, some ball games, I mean, we're all going to be together and it's going to be great. So yeah, but I'm excited for this Sunday. I'm excited.
For sure, man. It's it's our home opener. It's our 30th season. I think that I know we thought that last year it couldn't get worse, but we did have a bad start. But my hope is that these guys are all football players and they're going to come out here with a chip on their shoulder after seeing reality set in. So I don't know that we're going to get the win, but I'll tell you what, I think they're going to play a lot better than they did last week.
Right. If I could add to that, CK, like that's something that I'm pretty faithful in, that like of the teams, if you compare, week one this year to week one last year, we looked about the same.
Yeah.
But who would you rather have going into week two, trying to build for, an improved play, improved execution, improvements in all those categories? I mean, because we've seen Frank Reich in that exact position.
Yeah.
We've seen what was the special teams coach last year? We've seen him do it. Tabor, yeah. Tabor. We've seen him do it in the exact same situation, and now we have Canales and Wilkes. We've seen him in the exact same situation. I think having Canales, having the positive energy and the hey next weekend mentality, like he emphasized in his presser there in the with the Panthers huddle with TD, that he was all about moving on to the next week, and we've got to the season or the league doesn't pause. We've got to go to next week. So I think of all the people that we could have in this position leading the team into week 2, week 3, week 4, based on progression, and I think we're in the most optimal position that we have been for a while.
Absolutely. I don't disagree. Chad, tell me what you think. I know, let me address this because Chad actually, you know, I think he's starting to, last night's game, we saw Tua get hurt. And, we're all in this Friday free for all chat and, C3 Legion chat. And Chad was talking about something about, seeing Tua going through what he's going through. We lose sight of these guys being human, and we just expect these guys to perform and not treat them, any other way than just a statistic. So, Chad, I mean, tell me about your thoughts, where you're at mentally, and kind of give me where you're what you're feeling about this team.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for hosting tonight. Normally,
Yeah.
so for you to take time out of your schedule, I'm pretty sure that I think for that. Thank you for your time hosting. To get our opinions out and mentally, I'm great. Can y'all hear me? I'm going over a bridge.
Okay, it's clear now. I was wondering if it was just me. I can hear you now.
Okay, so yes, these players aren't robots, right? And can it what?
I don't know. There's a delay for me. I don't know if anybody else seems to be hearing me a little bit.
It picked up. I'll jump back in. I'm going over the causeway in Louisiana. It's a 24-mile bridge, and this service sucks.
Okay.
So I'll mute myself, but as soon as I get over, I'll express what I want to I want to say.
I mean, I'll come right back to you. Just let me know when you're ready.
Thank you.
It might just be I didn't hear any redundancy there.
No, it was just kind of like cutting in and out.
Yeah. Let me, Mr. Stratz, since you were in the next one, and then I'll get to you, Drew. I know you've been sitting there for a minute, but Stratz, I mean, same question to you. I mean, what are your thoughts after Sunday, and where what do you think is going to happen this week?
You all kind of already summed up pretty much all the points already, so there's really nothing more.
Talk about?
The podcast is over, everyone. We're good now. We're done.
No, I got something way different.
No, I mean, you all hit the points. It's tough because of last year. It's tough because of the past 6 years now. I've lost track. It's tough from all that, and then we all tried to limit our expectations over the summer going into the first game, and we took our expectations way down, but we were still, hopeful that they wouldn't have put that product on the field. So it's kind of like a lot of shock and then anger on, and then you see, and the toughest part is I see like our own fans like tearing each other down, and I just don't even get that part. That doesn't make a whole damn bit of sense. It's like, at the end of the day, I hate to pull a Matt Rule card here, but at the end of the day, it's an NFL team. So like, I would hope you have other things in your life that you appreciate more, so that when this team doesn't do so well, that your hopes and dreams aren't smashed to the damn ground, and that you can still be like, oh, you know what? I still got that one college team that I'm looking out for, aka in this case, Boston College is actually doing well this year. Or just, family or friends and stuff like that. So it's, I don't know, tough to see the community more than anything impacted. I hate seeing that, but I can't, I feel like I can't do much to that. Well,
you can't. And here's the thing is that, as somebody said, misery loves company, right? And if you want to be miserable, you can find plenty of people that'll help you do that, right? I'm hoping that nobody comes to C3 with just the idea we're going to just bask in the misery. It stinks to have that game happen like that. And now you start to look around the NFL and wonder who it is you're going to be cheering for while the Panthers are trying to rebuild until they're back to that point. We all miss being competitive. We miss it. And we haven't felt like there's been a real competitive team that we can trust for a while. And so you're absolutely right. It's tough. But again, I think that, as anything in life, anything that you deal with, I think that it's going to be You got to push through it. You got to keep your head up. You got to really believe that things are going to get better. And the reason that is because no matter what your belief system is, whether you're religious, whether you don't believe in that, but you believe in science, everything points to things will get better. And what there's an equal and opposite reaction to everything. And so that leads me to my next point, or my next person here. Drew, talk to me, brother. What's going on? What's going through your mind? Because I'm sure you're probably coming in here with a completely different mindset than me.
I am a little bit. I know you guys are. Most people, I guess Cody's not here. Everybody knows I'm kind of on the whole Bryce hater train, but it's not like it's like I said. I wish things were different. But my opinion of the whole thing is I felt like week 1 was inevitable. Now it was more like a kick you when you're down situation. But when I say it's inevitable, I feel like I thought I saw this coming, and I said it in other free for alls. And then everybody, kind of piled on and was like, "Oh, you're done. Like, what if someone gets hurt?" I was like, "This is why you play in the preseason."
Yeah.
Like I was like, it's going to take now. You could disagree with me on that, but I feel like Bryce just didn't hit anybody, and like there's no flow to the offense.
Yeah.
But no one's played together. Like he didn't play with the receivers. He didn't play with that offensive line. It was just like I said. The only thing that would caught me by surprise is how bad our defense was, because we really didn't lose that much. And you had people like the whole Brian Burns thing. Like he wasn't. Like I always liked him, but he was always like that guy. Like, oh, this is his year. He's gonna pop. This is gonna be the year he hits, and it just never materialized. So it makes sense to me. It would have made sense 2 years ago or a year and a half when we had first rounders for him. But whatever. But yeah, I feel like it's a moot point. Like I think it's gonna take 3-4 weeks, for us to even have something that looks like, as Dave Canal says, looks like us. Yeah. I feel like it's going to take a while for him to implement and get any kind of flow with each other. Now, what pisses everybody off is that how bad it looked. And it had to be against the Saints, the most annoying fan base on the planet. And, they're just like pumped, and they're like the Cowboys. Like they always think they're going to make it to the Super Bowl somehow.
Yeah.
And they have like a garbage team. It's just that we were trash. It was hard to.
Did you see JT O'Sullivan's film review this week of all that?
Yeah, but that dude just hates Thielen, man.
Well, I'm not talking about Thielen. That's not what I want.
No, I'm just saying that's the only thing I think of when I listen to his. He's like, I know I give 19 a lot of trouble, but he was white. That was like the one. Oh, I was gonna make that comment too. Is that touchdown thing? Like when we were in the end zone, he ran it in and scored still. But holy shit, Thielen was. I said this all last year. I was like, I don't know why people complain about separation. Is that when there is a ridiculous amount of when people are open or not, he's not hitting them.
Well, the reason I brought that up was there. I think there was a few plays like this, but the protection didn't slide in some cases, and it was just like free run at Bryce, and it was confusing to see why he wouldn't have fixed some of that, like how he could. I don't know. So then some people are speculating he can't change the calls possibly, or I don't know.
Well, you wouldn't necessarily. I feel that's what I'm saying about a whole preseason. Like you don't necessarily build that trust with the system yet that you're going to give him the keys to the kingdom. Like what is he proven to say? Like, oh yeah, here's a bunch of plays. Call which one you like. Like you're going to be like, this is the play we're running, and he's just the one I thought was weird is kind of taking what you said. Is that he looked like he made an adjustment, but he made an adjustment to shift the wrong way. And then that's the one where like he brought, I think, Sanders to his right and that blitz came from his left and he just nowhere to go. I was like, he could have left Sanders on that left side.
Right. And
he would have picked that up because I watched it again a couple times, even today. And I've seen Sanders didn't even know he got sacked. If you look at it, he's still looking forward and Bryce is rolling around on the ground, and I'm like, he's still looking for someone to block, and he just stood there the whole. It's like, to me, it felt like we had our third stringers going in preseason last week. And that's disappointing.
I agree. I think that this has been the point that I've been making from the first week in preseason is This isn't you can't even really compare the situation to other teams that held out their starters in different years and they were successful, because we are dealing with a brand new set of people that have, we're not talking about, we had a group of superstars and they need as many reps together as they possibly can get. And I think we saw an accumulation of everything that could go wrong. And so I know Ant has been, Anthony over here, he's been interested in, Bryce Young and his progression, but I think, we all kind of came back down to reality a little bit, us people who were maybe, hoping that Bryce does something that shows that he's the guy. Ant, tell me a little bit what your thoughts are from Sunday. And again, as I asked a lot of these guys, what do you expect moving forward from this team, and especially against the Chargers on Sunday?
Hey, CK. Yeah, I think it's tough. I didn't see, a lot of what I liked Sunday. Really, and you especially know this, listening to my calls. Really, the whole offseason, my motto was, let's just try to compete in these games. I don't care about the wins. Let's just try to progress, get better, in small increments. And, I would have been fine if we lost that game, but the way we lost, I think, is the biggest issue. And
yeah.
I think what you're seeing with Bryce Young is he's just not potentially trusting in his instincts right now. And, the fan base is all out of sorts. And listen, I think this fan base has just been in a period of time where we've been so disgruntled with this organization that we're going after each other's heads now. And, that's not needed at all. We don't need to take anything personally to each other from that manner. We just keep it Panthers football. I trust me, man. There's other ways to take out your anger on the Panthers than that. And with Bryce Young, I don't know what to personally expect, to be honest. As cliche as that sounds, I wish I could give you a definitive answer, but I don't know. Maybe I would expect him to be better than last week. And I know that's also kind of cliche, because time and time again, we've said oh, well, it can't get worse than this. It can't get worse than this. You truly never know at this point, man. And I think you're just looking for some small improvement. Bryce, this is, do or die for him. It really does feel like,
yeah.
And I'm not going to go down that route now. I'm pretty sure we'll talk about it a little bit, but it really feels like we need to see something, because especially all the Bryce non-believers are out on him at this point. And for me personally, I can't say that I'm invested in him as well. And, I was one of the biggest advocates to draft him. Just doesn't look like the player I saw from Bama, man. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and that's what, if you put in the comments, I feel like that's the whole people going at one another. It's going from 2 years now where, as I put it, the Bryce truthers versus the Bryce deniers. It's and you act like it's your son or something, you're defending him like he's the golden child here. The dude hasn't done anything. CK was saying, what has he earned that we didn't give him any preseason time? Oh, we're worried he's going to get hurt. What, are we going to be worse?
Well,
we could have played that garbage can Jack Plummer. That dude got so much time, and then he's not even.
Hold on a minute. Plummer looked better at the end of in that second.
But
yeah, but he's not even a backup quality quarterback right now.
That's exactly.
No, but I'm just saying we shouldn't be hating on people like that.
Right, Strats. That's exactly what I mean, though. With the whole preseason thing, is he had 3 games and he got better as it went on, and then that third game he actually improved.
CK, you don't need to convince me. We should have been playing Bryce during the preseason. Yeah, I agree. I don't know why we didn't.
I'm glad he got brought up because of that. But anyway, here's what I want to do. I want to move on to the guy who always brings the energy. I want to talk about D's ill skills in here. D's, talk to the Panthers family here. Talk to C3 Nation and tell them what's on your mind, dude.
The C3 Panthers Podcast has gathered here on a Friday to deliver a beautiful eulogy to the 2024 Carolina Panthers. No, that's not why we're here whatsoever. It's Friday. It's the weekend. It's time to turn up. Let's have a good time. Let's talk some Panthers football. Everybody knows that we're in a rebuild. Everybody knows that this is the first year for GM Dan Morgan. Everything's due to him. He's still learning. And what about Dave Canales? Well, he's a first-time head coach, and he's still learning too. And Bryce Young, this is only his second season. He's still learning as well. Dave Tepper, he hasn't been an owner for the Carolina Panthers that long. He's learning too. All these guys are on the learning curve. It's going to come together. If you just listen to my prediction from the last Friday free-for-all, I told you guys we were only going to score 10 points. If you look at how bad this offense was last season, it's apparent and obvious that we need time to grow. And I think Rome wasn't built in a day is the perfect analogy that was brought up earlier because of the C3 Legion, guys. Let's go. Hey, look, we were really bad on offense last year. You can't expect this team to come out this year, week one, and just be gangbusters on offense. We're not going to pick up from that Packers game. It's not the same offense. It's all new. And Dave Canales even told you in his pressers this week that we were ill-prepared in some of the pass protections and Bryce Young's audibles. They weren't there. There was no option. We were going to give up the sacks. We had dead plays literally within the system. This is going to take time, and this has been my stance for a while, and I still feel that way. So don't give up on the Panthers just yet. We need time for all these things to gel together. We need time for Brooks to get healthy and be a part of this offense. Canales wants him here and wants him to play a big role. He's not back yet. We need time for our tight end who got thrust into the starting role, JT Sanders, to get his stuff together, to be more of an NFL blocker, to not draw needless penalties like we saw. We need time for Bryce Young to get more confidence from Dave Canales. We also on the field, that's clearly what he was lacking. We saw that interception on the first play of the offense. We saw the interception in the first play of the second half. Both those that just crushed his confidence in that game and put him in a headspace of last season instead of moving him forward into the confidence that Dave Canales is going to instill in him. I've told you, and I've even shown the analogy in picture form of Dave Canales as a chef with a chef hat on, and he's got a big jar of spice, and he's dumping it in the sauce for these Carolina Panthers. And that spice that he dumps in this sauce is confidence for this team and confidence for Bryce Young. Now, what's going on with the defense, I'm not really sure. The defense looked a lot worse than I thought, and hopefully they got punched in the mouth hard enough to make them play with a little more vigor coming up this Sunday against the Chargers. And wins aren't important. Stop judging this Panthers team by that win-loss record, and listen to what Anthony is telling you. Judge this team by marginal improvements, because NFL teams, they rarely go from the worst team in the division to the best team in the division. Now, a couple teams do it every year, but nobody expected the Panthers to do it this season. Greg throws up a poll each and every Tuesday when the show begins, how many wins for the Panthers this season, and every time what wins? Between 4 and 7. So all the vitriol and all the giving up and all the we don't have any hope, that stuff is crazy, because it's all aligning to the expectations that we've been laying out for months and months. Let's just give this time. When they hired Dan Morgan and Dave Canales, the first thing that went across my mind, and I've been waiting all week to say this, so thank you for letting me rant CK. The first thing I thought, give him 3 years. Dave Canales, brand new first-time head coach, has only been an offensive coordinator for 1 year. He needs 3 years to get this thing right. Don't freak out just yet. And don't look at the win-loss record to show you where this Panthers team is at. Look at the improvement in the players, like Strat just said. We saw a Jake Plummer go from a guy that was it was unbearable to freaking watch his first preseason game. And I was kind of trolling him in his third preseason game, but he shut me up and he threw for 300 yards. And that showed the improvement under Dave Canales. He can do this, but he needs time. And the roster needs time, because nobody in the chat or nobody on this panel thinks that the Carolina Panthers roster is ready to contend. So let's give it a little more time, guys. We're going to get there one day, and 16-1 starts today, CK. Let's go.
Well, hey, 16-1's a bit rich for my blood, but man, I love the energy and I love the optimism. And I agree, man. I think that this team is going to get better. When you see the biggest issues we had last year on the offense, it was this offensive line. This offensive line looked actually pretty good. Icky was the weak link again, as many of us were concerned was going to be another year of that. But man, the offensive line was actually a bright spot. And so now that core is figured out, and now that Bryce will be able to see that on film, my hope is that Bryce will be able to settle in. He won't have to feel so rushed because he's only played behind a offensive line that has caused him to have to move quickly through his progressions and get the ball where he needs to get it. But now the long-awaited Chad has seems like his connection has opened back up here. So I'm going to go back to you. Talk to me about what you got on your mind, Chad.
I'm just going to try and be short and sweet and very positive about this. But guys, like after like I said, like kind of what CK like alluded to, like watching Tua like kind of go down, and now he's contemplating having to retire. I mean, we had that same player retire on us, and that's Luke Kuechly. Like these guys, I mean, this is their jobs. Like what we need to do as a fan base is be thankful that we all came into each other's lives and became buddies. Like we can't predict or we can't do anything about the outcome of any Carolina Panther game. You control what you can control, and you compartmentalize, and just understand how awesome it is knowing that we come together as a community for the same common interest, and that is the Panthers. And we all have different stories of why we became Panther fans. And it's just like we just need to stick together in all of this, because at the end of the day, like, it's us against the world, really. Like nobody cares about us. Nobody, thinks we're relevant. So let's just band together, like ask your buddy, hey, how you doing, man? How's everything going for you? Instead of just like completely crippling him because he has a different ideology or he thinks differently than you do. It's better to just spread more positivity and love. And don't get me wrong, trust me, my humor is pretty dark. When I tell people like, oh man, I hate this team and I'm, fuck this team and blah, 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 blah. It's not that I mean it. It's just, that's just how I cope with the fact that like, I am tired of being embarrassed and just want to enjoy football. But football is a community thing, and coming together is what matters. So when we get into these spaces, that's what matters. It ain't the outcome of the game. The outcome of the game don't mean shit, because we can't do anything about it. But we can be an impact in people's lives, a positive impact in people's lives.
Yeah.
It's just it's so important there's so much hate already in this world, and the media already freaking divides us. So we don't need another source of division in this world. Let's just come together, spread positivity, and be thankful that we're just fucking alive. Like that's just kind of how I view it. And so
amen,
fuck
dude.
it.
Here's the thing, I'll tell you on that point, Chad, and everybody, if you're giving up on your team already, here's the thing. I implore you to have hope, because I'll tell you what, it's always going to feel better to hope that this team gets better and not have to give up on them and then say, okay, I was wrong, if they turned out to be bad. But I mean, I would much rather be on the side of I believe from start to finish until all is said and done, as opposed to just assuming it's going to be negativity the entire time. So let's just hope, guys. Let's just keep our eyes forward. I'm not saying this season is going to be a 16-0 like Deez is, or 16-1 like Deez is talking about, but I'm saying we've seen some stranger things happen. We've seen some teams look bad and come back and actually show that, hey, they weren't as bad as it looked.
Chiefs got smacked last year until the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of
I got
those.
one more thing.
Yeah, go.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to be real quick. Okay, so the Chiefs, before they got Patrick Mahomes, they were really nobody. The Patriots, before they got Tom Brady, were really nobody. The Lions, the Browns, like think of all the teams that have had the most recent success. They were shit before that they found their guy. We as a fan base are 30 years old, or we as a team is only 30 years old. Guys, the Lions sucked for 30 years. Plus, we have experienced 2 Super Bowls. We have experienced an MVP. We have experienced a Defensive Rookie of the Year in Luke Kuechly. We have a Hall of Famer in Julius Peppers. We as an organization are young, and we have experienced so much already. let's literally just pump the brakes because, like I said, the Chiefs, they're on another planet. But before Patrick Mahomes, who do they have? The last time I remember the Chiefs being like really good was when Priest Holmes was the running back, and you had
No, they
Trent
had
Green as the quarterback.
they had a good playoff run in like was it 2014? They had Alex Smith. Alex Smith was actually quite nice with it.
But potato. They've been irrelevant. They haven't been the Chiefs, like the Eagles for so many years. Like they just won their Super Bowl in 2017. So I mean, realistically, like being a 30-year-old franchise and experiencing what we have already is a lot more than what most fan bases have experienced in the last 40 years. So
aren't there still teams that haven't gone to the Super Bowl yet that are older than our team?
yes, absolutely.
Right.
Yes, the Texans. I mean, the Lions have never been to a Super Bowl. And I mean, quite frankly, like that's a team that we can all kind of like cheer for because they are a likable team. And you know, if y'all want to make football fun, and while the Panthers are rebuilding, keep an eye on the Lions. They're going to be fun to watch, and they've got a lovable coach. So I just think, guys, like we've experienced so much. Let's just be thankful for what we have experienced thus far, and let's just see where this journey takes us. And we'll see what
Right. And
happens.
Washington had the RG3 experiment, you know, and that you know, was nice, and then it ended horribly. So you know, they have there's comparables all across, and you're absolutely right. You know, we're in that 30-year patch this year. You know, we've experienced more ups in 30 years than a lot of these franchises have in a 30-year stint in their history. So I think Panther Gal said it. We're spoiled. We are a spoiled franchise. You know, of all the positives that we have done in the first 30 years of our existence. You know, there's not been a lot of franchises outside of the big like six that you know have had the amount of conference championships and Super Bowl appearances that we have had. So you know,
Well, look,
we should pump
the Saints had to cheat to win a Super Bowl, and the Bucks had to go as low as bringing in Tom Brady and company in order to win theirs.
Right. Well, like I was going to add, I mean, like I was looking back at the Bryce Young comments from his presser after the game, and you know, a lot of people were talking on Twitter about how he's like, oh, you know, we've got to move to next week. That doesn't, you know, that sucks and whatever. But I think I watched Pat McAfee this morning right before he, you know, slammed our team for the third time this week. He had Nick Saban on, and Nick Saban was like preaching this 24-hour rule that he, no matter what, no matter how many championships he's won, no matter what, like he said, he celebrates a victory or he grieves a loss for 24 hours, and then it's on to the next week. And he said, you know, that even after winning the Super Bowl or, you know, conference championship, you know, all that, he would only experience that for 24 hours before he understood that there were teams coming for him, that he was building for the next. So I expect that out of Bryce Young. I expect him to have that mentality that he's going to shrug it off and move to the next one. So hopefully the execution is better this week. But I expect him to have that mentality.
Well, talking about moving on to the next one and this week, and you know, we have the Chargers come into town. And again, I mentioned it a couple of times, the home opener, and you know, Harbaugh, his return to the NFL was resulted in a win last week, and not because of an offensive explosion. From, you know, what I looked at, it seemed to be a pretty. They just won across the board. They had nobody. They weren't making mistakes, and their defense played well. And it just felt like they had their ducks in a row, which is what you expect from a Harbaugh. And so, you know, again, they're not considered a powerhouse right now because there are a lot of questions around their offensive weapons and things along those lines. But, you know, they didn't, you know, have a convincing win like the Saints did last week, but they won well enough to where it was, okay, these guys are, you know, a team to keep an eye on. And we all came into this week with the news that Derrick Brown's lost for the season. So what are thoughts surrounding this defense without Derrick Brown, and what do you think the next step is? Do you think it's going to get worse than what we saw last week?
Well, I said 16-1, and that was to represent a part of the Panthers fan base that deserves to be represented on this podcast. Okay, I don't even feel like we win this game coming up. I feel like if the offense scores 17, we're doing quite well. But to your question, so Derrick Brown going down is probably like the worst thing that could have possibly happened to our defense.
Right.
Avero says next man up, and that's coach speak for, okay, well, this is going to suck. That is literally like every time a coach says that, okay, next man up. Frank Wright.
That's not necessarily true. Look at McCaffrey right now with the replacement there. And remember when McCaffrey left our team and we thought, that felt worse than this does. And it turned out that it was okay. And it was fine. And someone did step up. So
J.K. Dobbins had 10 carries for 100 yards, Strats. I don't know if you looked into that, but they were pretty dominant in the running game. They didn't have to run the ball a lot to get to the 100-yard mark. Right. And our defense gave up 100 yards by halftime, over 100 yards at halftime. That's bad news for this Carolina Panthers team. Now, could the next man up, I think Peavy or whatever it is, step up, be good? Maybe. But Shot Tuttle's still in the lineup, and we've been looking to replace him for 2 years now. We need somebody better than Shot Tuttle to play in a 3-4 defense. We brought in Shot Tuttle to play, and he's always been like a 4-3 guy. He's not a nose tackle, so to speak, for the Panthers. So I don't like the matchup whatsoever versus the run. Avero talked in his presser about how well Shaq Thompson did with a couple tackles for loss. But Shaq Thompson should be able to generate a couple of tackles for a loss during the course of a game. I don't feel like that was an outstanding performance by Shaq whatsoever. He also felt like that Josie Jewell had a good game, but I don't feel that way at all. I feel like Josie Jewell had a horrible game. He was like second or third to the bottom of the list of Panthers in their PFF score on defense. He had a lousy game. He didn't perform up to the expectations that the fans had whatsoever. This front seven's really got to knuckle up without Derrick Brown on the field. To what Strats is saying, I don't. Maybe Strats has somebody behind him that he really believes in. But for me, UDFA and PV or a journeyman, whichever one he is, it doesn't do a whole lot for me in filling that void. Now, 3-4 is typically vulnerable to the running game, and Harbaugh has done a good job already showing. Because I'm gonna tell you right now that Raiders roster on defense is better than the Panthers. So they better really find something in their gut that makes them knuckle up and play hard if we're going to stop this Chargers running game, Strats.
Well, let me speculate for a second, if I may. And this is entirely speculation because it can. I mean, we're not going to know until we watch the game which way this takes, which route the team chooses. But again, this is a team sport, and losing just that. Granted, if it was like QB position, then you're kind of like that's a huge factor in this, but it's not. It's on the defensive side. So perhaps, maybe, what could happen is the person that comes up behind him to fill his shoes won't fill his shoes completely, but maybe it makes other people on the defense rise up, and you get your second star that shines this year out of the defensive side.
Yeah.
It's possible. I don't know. I'm not saying it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. No one knows the answer to that until we watch the games unfold. But maybe it kind of kickstarts a chain reaction of a player on the defensive side, kind of stepping up in their position and role, and kind of balancing out the weight distribution a little bit differently, so that I'm probably not explaining it very well, but I think
no. I think I agree, Strats. I think that there's a potential of there being a similar circumstance. So like when we had the trade of CMC to the 49ers, our running offense was horrendous. And it was because we just so heavily, made him such a priority on the offense. When we didn't have him, it was a little easier. And then we actually came in and did a crazy good. I'm not saying crazy good. Our run offense was heavily improved from the games prior to CMC leaving. So it does open an opportunity for guys to come in. And my question then becomes, is Ivero going to call a different defense, knowing that he doesn't have a superstar in the center? And is that going to change the way
Great
these guys
question.
play?
Yeah, I would look for us to set up more in our nickel formation, where we have a guy like Troy Hill on the field, maybe even Jamie Robinson, or the rookie that we just drafted. Any one of those maybe sneak. Or to be honest, Nick Scott is the guy that I would have in there at the nickel right now if it was my decision. CK, we watched Fuller play last week. That first drive, that long bomb given up, that was Fuller's fault. That was a cover 3 call. He bit on a hook route, and he should have went deep into coverage to guard the post, but he didn't do so. J.C. Horn was looking for him to be there. He wasn't there. And that's kind of why J.C. pulled up on the coverage like he did. So, yeah, I would look for when the Panthers get out of their base defense, that 3-4 defense, which they're only in 30% of the time. When they go to the nickel, we're in a 4-3 nickel at that point. And I think that's where we need to be. It's a better use of Shy Tuttle. It's a better use of Derrick Brown and Ashawn Robinson on that front line. If we go that route, CK, I think we'll be more effective in stopping the run, even though we're losing a linebacker on the field. But to be honest, with us doing that Harris signing this week, that linebacker on the field ain't that big of a deal. I don't think Harris moves the needle for a lot of Panthers fans. So that's what I would look for us to do to counteract the running game of the Chargers.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's that when you think about what we have been told about Ivero is he seems to be a pretty cerebral, play caller. We didn't see what that did for us last week. But Canales speaks highly of going up against this defense. So maybe there's going to be some ability to disguise some things that they're going to be doing now that Derrick Brown is not going to be a primary focus. Sometimes, man, those superstars are great, but when you only have one, I do think it makes it easy for teams to fixate on that one person, and then we don't have a team. We don't have our defense being called around the other guys and giving them an opportunity. So.
And in that same light, CK. So sorry, I thought you were. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go.
In that same light, on our side of the field, I feel like maybe the way to explain it is, if you work a job, if you have a team of people around you, or whatever, it doesn't have to be a job. If you have a team of people around you, and one of them is just like this absolute stunner genius. And when they're out for 2 weeks or whatever, and you're like, oh shit, now I got to figure it out myself. And you don't rely. So like when they're there, you rely a lot more heavily on, well, they'll pick up the slack because I probably can't figure it. So they kind of like, there's a lot of, at the beginning of the show, you talked about how we need to sometimes remember that they're human beings. Well, not sometimes, we should always remember that they're human beings playing this sport. They're not robots. And, some of that, and I'm not going to pretend to, I have no business explaining how psychology works in this case, because that's not my strong suit. That's not what I studied. But hopefully someone out there, maybe they can give some opinions on it. But I think having your main kind of character injured like that, maybe kind of bolsters some of the people around him to come out of their shell, maybe take up more responsibility internally, which then you see that on the field. So it's, who knows how it breaks down from here.
I agree. I think that this allows people to maybe step into a role they weren't comfortable stepping into because Derrick Brown was that guy, right? And so I do think that there's an opportunity for these younger players to come in here and perform at a higher level than what any of us on this side of the screen when watching the game are expecting. It's something that happened with Frankie Louvu. It's happened with multiple players. Even going back KK Short, nobody thought he was going to be as dominant as he was. Initially, and he started out really well. There's a lot of history of players stepping up when things weren't necessarily looking great. And we'll even point back to 2015 when this Panthers team lost Kelvin Benjamin, who we thought was going to be the next coming of Jerry Rice or Randy Moss after his first year being 1,000-yard receiver, and he was coming in, had a great training camp, and then to have his ACL tear, in training camp was devastating. And what did we see? We saw every single person on this offense step it up in a way we had never seen before as a Panthers team, as Panthers fans. So having the year start out the way that it has, it sucks. But man, there could be some things that happen that make this this defense, somehow click, and we'll see, man. I can't imagine that what we saw on last Sunday is going to be a repeat offense that we see, because these guys are all still NFL players. I said it on Tuesday. I said it Sunday. These are all, NFL players. So the fact that this happened, we may not have superstars, but these guys have played football, and a lot of these guys have been in the league for many years. And so to assume that that's going to, not somehow, show up on the field every week in and week out, I think it's unfair to these guys who have proven that they can at least play at a high level. It may not be superstar level, but they've proven that they can play at a high level, many of these guys.
Right. And going to Strat's point, Kyle, do you want to go? Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Deez.
I was going to say to Strat's point, he's talking about somebody stepping on the defense. The imagery of Clowney on the sideline staring down his teammates, and just look at his eyes were so big, and he was so animated and so disgusted at what he saw from his teammates on that field, and he was urging them and pleading to them, please play better. We can't look like this, and this is. Coming up Sunday, we defend our dirt, like Thomas Davis said in the Panthers huddle. And that's what this team has to rally around, build some kind of culture, making teams fear the logo once again, like Dan Morgan said. We have got to defend our dirt this upcoming Sunday. And like I said before, wins and losses don't matter, but we got to put up a fight. We got to let teams know in the NFL when they come into Bank of America Stadium, we are going to put up a fight. And for me, it starts on that defensive line. The Panthers' history has always had a good, strong defensive line, and we've got to do that, and we've got to do it without Derrick Brown now. As sad as it is, we've got to do that. And I think Clowney is the guy, like Strats was saying, is going to step up and is going to help lead this team forward and motivate some guys that are further down the roster, maybe a guy that was elevated from the practice squad to play beyond their abilities a little bit this upcoming Sunday. I like that a lot. I like the fact that Clowney has that veteran leadership. And Thomas Davis talked about that veteran leadership and his experience with it in the past with the Panthers. And that's what we need right now. We need Clowney to lead this team forward, and especially on the defensive side of the football with Shaq Thompson, lead this defense forward into playing better than what we did against the Saints, Kyle.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was just going to allude to the fact that, this team, we may have – like we're alluding to, the people may step up. Like PV, we don't know too much about him, but LeBravion Ray and the other guy is there's one more guy. I'm blanking on his name right now. Excuse me, but these are the guys that we're kind of going to go on a rotational. So
Nick Thurman is the guy you were thinking
of. Nick Thurman's the guy I'm thinking of. So. These guys, if they can get the optimist in me says if they can get in the way, right? Like Taylor Moton got in the way of Bryce, that one play. Anyways, if they can get in the way, because the 3-4 is kind of predicated on the fact that there's a guard and a tackle standing over one of our defensive ends. So as long as they can kind of get in the way, I'm okay with that, because that's your 111. We're not expecting, because the point is out there that the best player on our defense and the best position that we had on defense is now the bottom of the team, because all the other starters are still there. So we're now looking at that position to be like, this is the first position that we have to replace with backups. So these guys are going to have to step up now. Like we're alluding to, there's 3 players that could potentially in throughout practice this week earn that spot. So we'll see how that all plays out. But as long as they can do their 111, like Canales keeps alluding to, these other starters can step up. We can see a little more out of Clowney, a little more out of Ashawn Robinson, a little more out of some of these other guys.
Yeah, and Bill Craven's in the chat freaking nailed it, CK. He said it helps us find that diamond in the rough, and that's clearly what the Panthers have been looking for as we churn the bottom of this roster. We're looking for that diamond in the rough, that gem, the guy that can step up and really help this team. Like you alluded to earlier with the KK Short, we're looking for a guy that can contribute more than what we expect him to do, CK. And we may be one step closer to doing that with Derrick Brown going out. And that's just the glass is half full type of outlook on this situation.
Yeah, no, it's worthy of talking about the fact that there's teams that have these major injuries and things don't just fall apart either, right? Now, granted, it felt like it fell apart before we had the injury, but I tell you what, man, I think that we underestimate the ability of NFL teams and NFL players to have a mentality of, everybody's counting us out. We're going to come in here. We're going to perform at a high level. These guys, if you don't think that they took what happened Sunday personally, I don't think you know much about these guys who play this game. They are the most competitive people on the planet. If you when you talk about, I know we hate the ping pong table, but these guys are competitive and they want to win that they play golf. They want to win it. These guys are some of the most competitive people on the planet. And if you believe for a second that they aren't going to come in here this Sunday with a bit of a chip on their shoulder, I'm telling you, you're absolutely wrong. And somebody put a stat in the actual chat earlier that we didn't get a chance to read, but I mean it makes sense, and I think it alludes to what I'm talking about. In the history of the NFL, if a team loses by more than 35 points, the next week 75% of the time they win. And I think that's because you're talking about teams, they're embarrassed and they do not want to be able to go home to their family and look their family in their eyes and look their teammates in the eyes and say, we lost this much. We lost again. We're not going to do this again. So I'm hoping, like I said, I know it's hard. Hope is fleeting, but I have optimism that this team's going to pull it together. If they don't win, I don't think it's going to be a blowout like we experienced this past week. I think we're going to see a team start to mesh. We're going to see a team start to move in the right direction. And I think the post game on Sunday is going to be a lot about, wow, that looked a lot better. It may not be a win. It may not feel great, but I'm going to tell you, we're going to come into this and we're going to be like, okay, I see what they did. I see these guys starting to mesh. I see them starting to feel like they're comfortable with one another. I see Bryce starting to get that comfort level with his receivers, throwing the ball a little bit in a more accurate way. I believe it in my heart of hearts that we're going to come in here and have a much different opinion of what this team is come Sunday.
Your proof is right there in the chat, CK. Shout out to 2 Cent Peanut Gallery, Chargers fan here. Our all-time record makes me nervous. So this is a guy that had this, J.K. Dobbins explode in 10 carries, and we have statistics and history on our side, if nothing else. So there is at least 1 to 1.5 reasons for us to be optimistic going into this matchup on Sunday.
Well, 6-1 is the record he's referencing, Kyle. 6-1 against the Chargers all time.
Yeah. So let me do this. C3 Doug just hit that join button, became a C3 super fan. Let me do a quick little shout out to you, my dude. C3 Doug, welcome to the C3 Super Fan Club. If you guys are interested in joining that elite group of human beings, you can hit that join button over on YouTube. It's $1.99. We're not trying to gouge anybody or anything along those lines. It's just a way that you can help support the podcast and allow us to continue to not only keep the website going, but continue to keep all of this content flowing. As you may not realize, some of this stuff is expensive. Even this StreamYard stuff that we use is a bit, pricey. So every little bit helps, and we're not asking for anybody to do anything crazy. So if you're interested, feel free to do so. If you can't afford it, we only ask that you like and share the stream. There on whatever platform you're watching on, whether it's X, whether it's YouTube, or whether it's Facebook. Do us a favor, hit that like button, hit that share button, let your family and friends know C3 is coming in here with a large amount of positivity. Hopefully you feel that coming from me. We'll get through this season together, whether it's a good season or a bad season. We're going to get through it together. We're gonna recuperate. We're going to be here. We're going to be family. Even no matter what happens, we're going to be family at the end of this season, and we're going to continue to move forward.
Yes, sir. And shout out to Doug for putting that C3 in his username and being a part of the Legion. We march on for these Carolina Panthers, and we go to war each and every Sunday that the season is in session. And thank you for joining us, C3. Doug, man, we appreciate you, and thank you for being a member of the longest running Panthers podcast. Fantastic stuff. Let's go.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad that everybody's having a bit of a more positive approach to what this team is. I know a lot of stuff happened this week, and obviously the Panthers losing the height of that frustration, man. But I'm glad. I mean, I know there's people in the chat, and we're not gonna tell anybody how to fan. We're not gonna tell anybody how to fan. If you believe the Panthers are gonna lose, that's okay. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I just want you to be happy, knowing that this team, we're going to be a family no matter whether they win or lose. We're going to come here. We're going to show up every Tuesday, every Friday, every Sunday post game. We're going to be here, and we're going to find out how to get through it together. We talk about it being a therapy session, and I'll tell you what, there's no better therapist than my man here, D, in the chat. He decided to join us today. D, how you doing, my dude?
Yo, my
I'll tell you what I
C3
want, whatever they really want. Sorry, I thought you were going with that song.
what's really going on, my Panther family? Hey, I'm more than confident for Sunday. Why? Because it's just in my DNA. But then too, in the same breath, as hellacious as a week I've had, and I wasn't even gonna come on here today, I find joy in trying to bring hope to my family and this fan base. And let's be honest, the Chargers didn't beat a good team last week. People have hope for the Raiders up there in Vegas, just like we have hope for our Panthers here. And really, besides 2 or 3, maybe 4 key runs for the Chargers, it wasn't that explosive of a running attack, even though our rush defense was anemic against the Saints. But as I was listening earlier, you made one of the most key things that stuck in my mind all week, to where these are men, people. These people have pride. These cats are dogs, or at least trying to be dogs. And yeah, you're going to take a whooping ever so often. We've seen some of the greatest fighters take ass whippings, but then they turn back and lay anybody else out. We've seen teams just like that stat somebody put up, talking about when teams have lost by large margins, and then it's a high percentage of them coming back and winning the next week. The thing that I came to bring to y'all is, we all love this team for so many different reasons. People grasped this team for so many different reasons. Some people look to this team for their joy during football season. Me personally, I've been there since day one, so it just feels like family. All I've known for majority of my life is rooting for these Carolina Panthers. And as I've said so many numerous times, it ain't like we just been great through so many different eras of Panther history that we just totally spoiled now and outrageous. No, we've took our lumps, and then we've been able to bask in the success when we've been able to get out of those lumps. And even though this rough spell for us has lasted a little bit longer than other rough spells that we had, we're doing the things to move in the right direction. Now, we're going to play these Chargers. We're at home. We just took a significant ass whipping last week. And I can't think in my heart of hearts that there's not one member of that team, even down to Bryce Young, that are sitting there and are going to allow the lack of effort they had last week and being flat last week to come out this week and show the same low amount of energy and come out flat. I expect to see bodies fly around. I expect to see better execution. I'm not saying that we're just going to be playing on this level that cats is just going to change their mind about this team, but at least a seed, just a seed of hope, just a seed of hope. And they're going to bring it. But when I tell you, family, life is too short for us to bicker over a child's game that men get to play. And as much as we love this team, it's time to rally. It's time to unite. In the worst of times, you got to lean on each other. You've got to believe in each other, and you got to believe in what you love. And I love the Panthers. At the end of the day, win or lose, we're going to fight. Take hope in the fight. Because when you have a puncher's chance, you can win. Now, as far as hoping that we can establish a running game better and so forth, I believe the opportunity will be there because in my heart of hearts, I can't believe we jumped down 17-0. And like I said, the Chargers are not far off from us, to be real with you. Even though their coach is experienced and has been to a Super Bowl, this is his first year with that team. They had a revolving door this offseason of talent going out the door. There's a lot of cohesion that they have to get. And like I said, their opponent last week, yes, this is an NFL team, but they're not a great NFL team. We're not a great NFL team, but we got the same chances. And we're going to do what we got to do. So at the end of the day, I love every single one of you. I thank you for the platform that y'all have given every single one of us to have therapy sessions and get off what we need to give. But at the end of the day, show compassion to your fellow man. Show compassion to your fellow fan. And as always, pound.
Keep out,
D comes in, drops some truth bombs, and just dips out. Oh man, D gets that hope, gets the blood pumping, man, and I'm glad he came in to give us a bit of a pep talk, man. Was there what else is there to talk about? What if did you guys watch any of the press conferences? Is there anything that sticks out to you about what the coordinators had talked about after? I know Ivero had to answer some tough questions about this defense and what happened on that on Sunday and what he plans on doing without Derrick Brown. Is there anything that you guys heard this week from any of these guys that is worthy of a conversation tonight?
So I didn't see the Evero presser. The only thing that really sticks out for me is just the cohesiveness. Everyone that I've heard, they're all talking about the same thing. They're all in the same mindset that we can't pause the season. We can't be like, hey, timeout, guys. We need to get our shit together. They're all moving forward, turning the page, looking at the Chargers and what can we do for the Chargers. And, you got to think Evero got his people, and, they all say, oh, we don't really watch social media and we really don't pay attention to stuff like that. But you got to know that he's heard the hey, you have your people. Why are you not good at this?
Yeah.
He's got to have heard that. So I expect there to be a big emphasis this week on stopping the run. And I expect a big emphasis this week on Bryce, get the ball out exactly when I tell you to get the ball out to this receiver or this receiver or this receiver. And one of the things that I did want to talk about is I seen somewhere in the chat, they were talking about how Canales' offensive system doesn't allow for checks, and that might explain why we had a very limited amount of audibles and checks at the line. When we were on offense last week, that might turn into a problem. But then again, Canales had showed that humility that he knows when people talk about something that he did, he's like, oh, okay, well, maybe I have to go back and look at that. At least there's that. There's not the arrogant, well, my way is the way, kind of shit.
Yeah, that was it for me, Kyle. That was it. That was perfectly put, because it was the humility of the coaching staff.
Right.
Whereas last year, and previously with Matt Rule and Scott Fitterer. And I think that's why so many fans hated them so much, because they were so arrogant about how things were going. But Canales and Avero did show a lot of humility in their pressers. And even Brad Idzik, too. Things are still kind of coming together, I think, is something he alluded to, Brad Idzik in his presser. And Avero was very positive on this defense, which just makes me feel like maybe CK is on to something, saying that these players aren't going to take getting disrespected lightly. And we know that Clowney did. Clowney's vigor, his excitement on the sideline, that tells me that maybe we're going to see a little different Panthers team this week. That we're going to have a little more fight than what we saw before. And Canales was open and honest, like Kyle was saying. He said, yeah, we didn't have checks out of that. We got outcoached in some places. That's literally what he said. We got outcoached. That's what he said.
Isn't it funny?
After the game. Yeah, it is funny. Go ahead, Trey.
I mean, I just think it's comical that last year the problem was, we talked about the defense thing last year and how they looked like a false defense because of, and I don't want to get into that now because tomato, but what we didn't consider this year, I feel like this happens every year, beyond even just under the ownership of Tepper, is that every year we go into the year thinking like, oh my God, this was such a problem last year. And then we get into the year and that thing, maybe it is still a problem, but that's not the biggest problem right now. It's like right now, the thing that worked decently fine last year, and they did get rid of some guys and then they supposedly upgraded or whatever, but like, did anyone expect us for them to hang like 50 points on our defense in game one? That kind of, now that I think about it, is a little bit comical that I don't think one single prediction going into that game was, I'm worried about the defense getting 50 points hung on them today. I don't think anyone said that
Not
across
anywhere.
anywhere.
The Saints for sure. Like if you would have told me, what do you think the score is going to be against the Chiefs? I mean, they might, just based on what we saw, there's a potential they break records, right? But I mean, again, you're right, 100%. This is not a single person came into this thinking, you know what, this is going to be the outcome. Like you might have thought that the Panthers were going to lose, but not a single person said, yeah, they're going to lose by almost 30 points or by almost 40 points rather. But I tell you what, there's there's somebody else who usually brings the energy on this Friday free for all and the cat calls on the C3 spaces. He always comes in with some passion, and I think many of us will recognize this gentleman here, Panther Pickle. How you doing, big dog?
I'm good.
Shut the hell up!
Oh yeah, I've said that before. Just a couple times, but
just a couple times.
Just a couple. It's been a rough week, folks. Been a real rough week. And sometimes social media makes it worse. But a few wins sure would make a few differences. Cause what would you do if CK, what would you do if you popped on the post-game show and realized Panthers won by 10 points? How
Sunday?
happy would you be? Yeah, this Sunday.
Dude, I'd be ecstatic, and I'll be even more ecstatic because I'll be there front row behind the Panthers bench.
Oh, there, yeah, that's even better. I forgot. That's even better. That'd be terrific, and that's what we need, just a little bit of wins. Just a little bit of energy, just a little bit of hope. And like Dee said, I really found it encouraging when the head coach and the coaches owned up to their mistakes. You don't often hear that. To me, and my own personal opinion, that's the sign of a good coach. A coach who's willing to walk up and say, hey, it's on me. And I remember Canales saying that his quarterback, Bryce Young, has things he can call to and things he can play to. I want to caution to say that he don't have audibles. I would say that the audibles may be small. A lot of young coaches won't give. For example, they used to give Jake Delhomme 4 plays he can run, 2 runs and 2 passes. Cam got 3, I think, and then later on when Norv started, he got more. Bryce may only have 2 he can audible, not counting the play that's called, and that may be something. With a young team like that, though, you put more audibles in, somebody's going to screw up.
Well, Pickle, you're right, but I also wonder. They said that everybody's always said that this the offense that Canales runs is simpler for quarterbacks, and so I wonder if it's by design that it's maybe he's not getting that many options to be able to audible out of things. They said, I know somebody in the chat was saying that's been a complaint of Canales last year when he was the coordinator for the Bucs, is that they weren't giving Baker an opportunity to.
You're right. There was an interview. I heard that this week. I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm sorry. I'll stop.
No, go.
There was an interview. I forget who it was with, but they sat down with. This was all taking place over Twitter. I think the conversation was happening, and then someone asked where they heard it from, and then they referenced there was a literal interview with
Baker.
Oh my God, Baker Mayfield, who said, "Yeah." Oh, then you speak to it because I didn't watch it. I just compiled all the information relative to it.
Just in summary, it's not as many checks as in other offenses. So to Panther Pickle's point, yes, like last year. Maybe Bryce had too much freedom, too much to think about. And they tried to give him all the protection coverages as well to call. And then that was a problem because Corbett went out, and he was the one that was going to take that away from Bryce and call those protections. And then Bozeman we had who couldn't call protections. And then now he's on the Chargers because of that reason, basically giving up so many sacks, not calling the right stuff. So, and that brings me to the point that I was thinking about earlier. I don't know if y'all watched some of the film. Me and Panther Pickle went through some of the all 22 the other day, and every single play, like Damian Lewis is tapping Corbett on the shoulder. It's Corbett and Lewis calling the protection coverages now for the Panthers, and it looks better than it did last year, to be honest. And like you said earlier, CK, they come out with a pretty good PFF score. So if you want to find some hope on this team and something to be positive about, that's the fact that the offensive line really did look better. And there's not many players that you can put ahead of Icky being effective for this team and working out and being a franchise left tackle. That is huge for the Panthers. So the offensive line looking better. Canales admitting the fact that they didn't have the type of audibles that Bryce needed, and Bryce having too many audibles last year. All those things are honestly a positive sign looking forward for the Panthers.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's again, that's the part of this is I don't think that we're going to see a repeat of what we saw last week with this offense. I know the argument is you're dealing with a defense that is good with the Chargers and what have you, but here's the thing. I think that people, I said it on Sunday, I said it on Tuesday. I said, I think that we may not be a good team, but I also don't think that the Saints are a bad team. And they, for the sake of, an argument here, they may be a good team. They may be a great team, because when you saw what happened, they had all of their ducks in a row. They knew the defense, their defense was purring. Their offense was in sync from play one. Like they knew what they were doing. And Derek Carr has been known to have years where he comes out and he looks like he's the guy that should be getting paid top 5 quarterback money. He's done it before. And I just think that to assume that that's not going to happen that the Saints just came in, you just got lucky because they were playing a really bad Panthers team. Sure, we didn't play our best ball, but I'll tell you what, that's some of the best Saints football I've seen since Drew Brees left, just to be honest with you. And so I think this week is an opportunity for this team to show that was a fluke. And as Pickle alluded to, as D's, we all kind of have this little, glimmer of hope. I think we're going to see things move in a positive way and we're going to start to see progress. And how much progress, I don't know. But I think at the end of the game on Sunday, we're all going to come in here feeling a little bit better about what we saw.
Can we speculate on this one? Like,
sure.
Can we pretend like what is the? Try to imagine for a second the three scenarios of this weekend. One being, there's probably a few more than just three, but let's simplify it to three. Let's say we get dominated. We dominate, or it was somewhere in the middle ground of we win or they win, but it was so close and the game looks like pretty competent. Based off those three things that happen, now I'm not asking this in the sense of what you think Twitter's going to say, because I frankly, one, don't care, and two, you know that's going to be a shitstorm no matter which of those three options happens.
Right.
So it's not even worth asking that question. But what do you all think? What based off that, if one of those three things happens, how would each of those things make you feel going into week 3 for each of those scenarios?
That
explain
we
that well?
win,
I don't
that
know.
we're competitive, or that we get blown out. Is that essentially the three?
They blow us out or we blow them out. Those are the two scenarios. Those are two scenarios. We dominate or they dominate. So that's one scenario and two scenario. And the third scenario is somewhere in the middle. Either we win or they win, but it looks competitive and it looks like, we're in the running the whole game. If we lose, if we win, it looks the same for them, that they were in the running the whole time. Right.
I would pick the last option.
Right. Definitely the last option. I want to see.
Well,
We're not, as much as I would absolutely love for us to blow somebody out, I don't think we have the fortitude to do that.
Let me reframe the question, because that is interesting to hear you pick the option like that. But I was saying, for each of those options, how would you feel if we blow them out? How would you feel if they blow us out? And how would you feel if it was somewhere in the middle?
I would be shocked. Yeah, I would be shocked both blowouts, but I would be happy even if it was a loss, if we were competitive.
We're in a rebuilding year. I don't think anybody, including the coaches and the GM staff, thought we were going to make the playoffs this year. I just want to be competitive. That's all I want. If we get blowed out, to be bluntly honest, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse.
I just don't want to be 0-17.
The emotions on the fans are going to get worse. There's a difference in some of the 0-17. No, in some of our losing seasons where we lost a lot. I mean, we basically had one win. We were competitive in a lot of games. If we lose 2 in a row and getting blowed out, we weren't competitive at all. And I mean, it'll just get worse. And I'd rather not think that that's going to happen. So,
how would that make you feel if they did blow us out? Forget Twitter and all that stuff, but like, do you still say, well, I'm going to wait till week 4 or 5 or 6 and see what happens? Or, are you immediately like, oh shit, 2 weeks in a row?
If they blow us, excuse me.
Wait till week 4 or 5 for what? For me to decide that I want to bench Bryce? For me to decide I want to fire a coach? Or wait for
I guess for you to be upset, and you're probably already upset and angry, but
yeah,
I'm already upset. I've been depressed all week.
Right. No, I would say
it's just there's no bright hope for the future to me, and it's not just football. But
I see a glimmer of hope in this. I think, being that it's only one game, we have so much to play. We don't know. I mean, it could be like week 6 before they start to take off, and then you're like, holy shit, this looks like an entirely different team.
I would rather think, and I would rather concentrate that we're going to be competitive and have a chance to win.
Right.
If I concentrate too much on the fact that we're going to get blowed out, or we might get blowed out, or there's a possibility, or there's a percentage we will, I don't know if I'll box up all my Panther stuff and send it back to the stadium. So I don't know. I can't read the future. I don't know. For all we know, the world may fall apart before we reach Sunday, and not be a game at all. So, I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
So,
Pickle, I don't think this
yeah,
fan base can
yeah.
handle 2 back-to-back blowouts. I'm
I
not saying
I
us,
don't
but I'm
think
saying
it either. And
I don't
I
think it can.
appreciate you stressing. I understand what you're trying to ask. I just can't give you the answer that makes sense. I just
Yeah, I
can't.
was trying to gauge everyone's confidence of like
I
based
don't
off of how this
right
game
now.
goes. How much does that influence your decision that
Right now,
change your mind from
yeah.
you thinking they're going to do better or whatever?
I said it would be anywhere between 4 and 7 wins.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I actually think it was closer to the 4, but I think everybody needs to take a deep breath and understand when you say they're going to win 4 games or they're going to win 5 games, you need to understand what you're saying. You're saying they're going to lose all the other games, and 99% chance you're not going to win close games.
Right.
Okay. I'll be bluntly honest. When 2003 we went to the Super Bowl, that's when we phrased the Panther. There used to be a photo that floated the small social media sites we had, and it was a defibrillator with a Panther logo on it, a heart defibrillator, because that's what we felt like we were doing. Because 90% of those wins were field goals at the end of the game. They weren't big throws; they were field goals at the end of the game. So,
Yeah.
I have to, and to be bluntly honest, if we get blowed out, it's going to be worse than it is now for the internal staff. They won't be able to just to say we're growing. They won't be able just to say we're learning.
I mean, I don't know.
2 weeks in a row, it's going to get worse for the players.
That could potentially be the only bright spot, is that we could compare the film and it potentially looks better. That's the only way a blowout looks.
I don't.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, without Derrick Brown in the lineup, we're going to see some folks. That is what D said earlier. They're UDFAs. They're UDFAs for a reason. Not all UDFAs deserve to play in the NFL.
Can we please not see our own defensive players running to each other? Is that too much to ask for? Our own defensive players running to each other?
Well, so this is another point I was going to bring up earlier, and it's so hard to articulate this point that I'll give it a shot, but I don't know how well I'm going to do. And the best analogy I came up with was in video games. If there's a video game that you play often, sometimes you do have those off nights where you can feel yourself either being too fast or too slow. You're not in the right groove. And so let's pretend I won't use COD okay, so let's say, I'm trying to think of what a game but do you get the point of like when if you're playing a game, either video game or like outside soccer or whatever it is, like you can get in this like groove where everything's going smooth and it just feels like second nature, and then you can be too quick where you need to settle down and honestly I just log off at that point because I'm like, it's not my night, I'll just log on tomorrow. But they can't do that, so it almost felt like they were misaligned with, not like the footing or anything like that, I mean like they weren't on. It's just all cliche. It's not on the same page. A lot of this would have been worked out. The kinks would have been worked out in the preseason. Should have been worked out in the preseason, but that's not what happened. So it could just be a groove issue that they were just playing at different speeds, right? And they weren't synced up the right way. So like the few millimeters needed or a few inches needed to get that interception, like, well, that happened. And like a few, you know what I mean? I feel like I'm not explaining this very well.
Scratch, did you watch that video that me and Cole and Dees made the other day?
Which one?
The clarity one.
About the cap, and we watched a little bit of 22 tape in that.
If it was posted today, no, I don't think I saw it.
It's only 2 days old.
Yeah, the reason why I mentioned that is because there was a play and Cole's in here, and Cole can tell you he's not a Bryce fan. So even he saw the one interception was the receiver almost was there. I mean, he was just in arm's reach of the ball.
Yeah.
With short passes like that have a lot to do with timing on routes.
All day long, Pickle.
And a veteran receiver and a young quarterback, they get their timing by reps.
Right, which they didn't get in the preseason.
And we didn't.
Pickle, that pass was intended for Deontay, wasn't it?
Yes.
All right, new wide receiver on top of that.
So if you go back and change the timing of that game, it could play out a lot different, you know. And maybe that's what it is.
If you get off to a better start, I feel like absolutely.
If you could hit the pause button in the middle of the game, end the game, and go
slap every single one of them into sanity,
and reset yourself to your back at the first preseason game and actually play all the preseason games. That way you're on timing. When you push that controller button, everything's going to come out better. But unfortunately, this ain't Madden. And unfortunately, we can't hit that reset button. So
and by the way, the slap comment was figurative. It wasn't literal.
You're good.
The best thing that Canales did Monday was, I take it, that he admitted he should have played some in the preseason. Yeah. But as he put it, he can't worry about that until next preseason, because it makes it useless to think about it now. So he moves on, and that's true. That's very true. He could spend all week kicking stones and complaining to everybody he should have played in the preseason. And how does that help us moving forward? It doesn't. So you try your best to get everything lined up. Now, some of the folks in the chat, just watch the video. We didn't go over every pass. We went over, I think, 4 or 5 plays. That's all we did. You're welcome. Go to NFL.com, buy a NFL Plus account, and watch the All 22 yourself and tell everybody what you think. That I encourage you to do that, because there's so many people out there in social media that knows a lot more about football than I do, and I welcome anybody to go buy the subscription and tell everybody what really happened. Keep pounding. Cole, what you think?
Keep pounding.
I'm right there with you, Pickle. You did everything except come out and say that video was not a Bryce bash. It really wasn't. Y'all said you wanted him for 2 years, which is fair. I said 1, so I was a little more irrational than y'all. But I do think that after that, it gave me a little bit of clarity on why we are the way we are, because our number right now is horrible with paying people that aren't here. And like you said, we're just deciding to eat it right now. So it's not paying off, whatever the opposite of that is. It's affecting us right now. So hopefully we can get that out of the way and move forward next year. But that cap number is killing us right now.
What is this noise?
I don't know. Yeah, I heard it too.
I heard it.
Well, what do you think about what are all your gut feelings? Let's remove the statistical aspect. Let's just feel gut internal this weekend. I don't want to say win or lose, but do they look better than they did last week?
This is going to sound really bad, Strats, but I can't even judge this week whatsoever, because if the weather's going to be like it is, it's going to be just like the damn Green Bay game. But if you want to look at it like that, that's the best game Bryce played under shitty conditions. So take that with a grain of salt.
Cole, what do you do? Like, what's going on?
That's a demon. That's a demon, CK.
What is going on with you?
He's making dubstep in the background.
It's got to be. There's something happening with your mic.
Oh, with my mic? Hold on, let me cut it back on.
Bro, it sounds like a demon's stomach burping.
It sounds like a synthesizer.
It does.
Burping.
I'm so confused for a minute. I'm over here trying to set. For anybody curious, I'm being silent. Once we're done with the Friday free for all, I'm going to immediately turn on a live stream for the Madden Sim, as I'm not going to be here tomorrow, as I'm going to be in the Queen City. So if you guys are interested in hanging out for the Madden Sim after the Friday free for all, I'll be doing that right after we end the stream here. So I know it's
how about hanging out in the Queen City?
Yeah, we're hanging out in the Queen City. There you go. You'll be getting a double dose of C3 and CK at the same time. So
Are you switching, CK? Are you switching links?
Yeah, it'll be. Well, this won't be. This will be because I'm gonna have to use Streamlabs because that way it gives you a better quality. Otherwise, it'd be super clippy and all that stuff. So these, I see you got something shared. Are you wanting me to put that up? I don't think I can. Right?
CK, do I sound better?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know if you can or not. That's from Twitter. That's J.K. Dobbins' big run he had this past Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can put it up or not.
No, they'll hit us in a heartbeat if we put something up from a broadcast.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
All good.
But yeah, you guys continue. I mean, I forgive me, I'm not being a part of it. I'm just setting up the stream.
No, so the only other thing that I was going to talk about, I wanted to bring up the Panthers have put out their injury report. 5 players are questionable. This was according to US Wire 7 hours ago. Canales says that everybody that's questionable he expects to play, which is Johnny Hecker, Damian Lewis, Tommy Tremble, Raheem Blackshear, and Taylor Moton, but they were all questionable. Also on that list, Jadeveon Clowney was on the list, but he was he did not participate Thursday practice, and he was limited on Friday. He has full game status, so we'll be watching him pretty carefully. Robert Hunt has had limited practice Thursday and Friday, and he's limited for the game status with a shoulder injury, so that's also something we need to pay attention to. Nijman still hurt, limited game status, but he was full practice on Friday, and Blackshear did not participate Thursday or Friday. Josie Jewell was limited, and they don't have his game status listed. Thielen's full participation. So we do have a couple of guys down.
Kyle, I got some breaking news for you.
Yes, sir.
Panther Pickle will not play Sunday due to physical unfitness.
Kyle UDFA, Colby Griffin will start on Sunday in place of Josie Jewell.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna need oxygen. I'm gonna need an oxygen tank after 3 plays, though. I might be the same speed.
Hey, take it out on the field with you, Cole.
No, I don't take this the wrong way, okay? Don't unfriend me, please. But I believe Trevette Wallace would be a better choice than you.
Oh yeah.
Fact is, let me bust some bubbles.
I retired
think
20 years
Trevette
ago, by the way.
Wallace should start for the rest of the year in place of Josie Jewell.
Hey, sign me up.
I would do it right now, Pickle. I would do it right now.
So
I ain't mad at it.
Another potential solution that I was thinking of earlier, although Shaq Thompson is not the greatest at getting to the quarterback, he is very good at applying pressure. So you could move Shaq outside and use Shaq and Josie be your 2 outside rushers and put Trevin Wallace as a starter inside.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Is it bad?
You know what? Let me take that back. It can't be worse than what we saw this past Sunday.
Right. I don't know. We went into the season saying the same thing, and then we saw that.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't even want to say it out loud.
I did that. Yes.
I mean, we could always put Cole out there as a pass rusher.
Yeah.
Hey.
Cole on one side and Jake on the other.
At least you know
say who rips the hamstring first.
Shoo. Last
They'll tackle like a demon now. I bet you.
20 years ago, damn near Pickle. 18. Well, yeah, 18. I've been out the game for 18 years already. That's wild.
Let's get real here, folks.
Knock the dust off, Cole. You're fine.
Y'all remember Julius Peppers in the Hall of Fame ceremony?
Yes.
Don't he look like he can play?
I mean, he can go out there and give you a series or 2.
He does not in Hall of Fame.
Cam might be on the move.
According to that fake website, he would be, wouldn't he?
Speaking of which, no one fall victim to someone. They do this every year, and you know what you do? I don't even think they're Panther fans anymore doing it. Someone always waits until the first QB injury happens, and then they post some shit with their name. They change it to pretend like they're an NFL, reporter, and then they're like, Cam Newton has been showing up in practice this week. Don't believe that shit.
Scratch, some of them you really have to look, like the one that was posted today. If you
Yeah.
look in Adam Schefter's name, there was a little number
Change it to a 1.
right in the middle of his name, and right away I thought that's fake. And sure enough, then I read a little bit and I realized that two people that I'm very fond of were the ones that sharing all that around. Yes, sir. Sometimes the best guys can get caught on one of them hooks.
Damn fake news.
So, but on that fake news bite, that's true.
Shit.
So what do we do you guys want to do a score prediction? What do you guys think's going to happen on Sunday?
So the score prediction, player of the game, and I think I'm going to say the Chargers are going to win. I think it's going to be 21-14. I think the player of the game is going to be probably that running back that they got.
J.K. Dobbins. Yeah, he had a really dominant performance on Sunday. So yeah, I mean you could be right. You absolutely could be right.
28-10, Chargers way.
What do we got? Who else? Cole, what do you got?
Away from the mic.
He probably stepped away for a second or something.
He watches some NC State highlights.
You good? You're good.
But yeah, I was talking about the Chargers earlier, and
My bad, CK. I got you at the D's. Go ahead, and D's. You started.
yeah, I'm just worried about this run defense, Cole, after losing Derrick Brown. I mean, he meant so much to this team, and like I was talking about earlier, Clowney's just really got to step up as a leader for us. And Clowney's got to step up as a guy that's going to make more plays than he did this past Sunday.
Yeah.
We didn't hear Clowney's name called enough for what this Panthers team needs right now, and we really need his veteran leadership in the locker room. I just think that's a huge point for us going into this Sunday's game, because we've got to stop the run at least better than what we did. That was a big part of my article that I wrote for CarolinaCatChronicles.com. You guys can go there and read the article and pick up some merch, like a Panther Pickle Shut the Hill Up t-shirt, or if you want to, a C3 mug. All those things are there for you, along with a couple articles that I've written for this season. Last week was about Taylor Moton. But I don't feel good about the Panthers' offense going into this game. I believe, we can get there, but I don't know that we're going to get there week 2. I think just common sense tells you that our offense needs, and our young quarterback, Bryce Young, needs time with Dave Canales. I mean, I would give the guy 2 months to work on him, I know a lot of Panthers fans are already checked out on him, but I would say give Dave Canales 2 months with our quarterback, and let's see what he does then. We shouldn't expect instant success from a team that went 2-15 last season. We are the tape that we put on the field. We only won 2 games. That's the team that we are. That's the tape that we put out last year. We looked bad in week 1 this year. That's the tape that we put out. We're not any better than that, and having an expectation that we're going to be better than that is only going to be end in disappointment, because we have to be realistic of where this Panthers team is. Okay, so if we score 17 points, that would be an improvement for this Panthers offense, and that's what I hope to see, is 17 points scored. And I'll give the Chargers 21, and that's just me trying to be realistic. You know what I mean, as far as what's going to happen in this game. But like I said, 16-1, it started last Sunday, or it starts tonight. The Panthers still can do it. There's no reason to lose hope going forward, CK. Keep pounding, my friend.
Absolutely.
D's, what was your number on ours? Well, how many did you say we were going to score? I heard everything but that.
17.
17?
Yep, it'd be improvement, Cole, going in the right direction.
Cody, I said Cody. CK, I'm going to be ugly, but I'm going to be quick, but it ain't too ugly. I think we're going to see the same shit again, especially with the weather being like it is, and I see the score being like 20-3. It's just going to be a sloppy, just shit show on both sides.
Fair enough.
I was gonna say here, sorry guys, just popped back in, but
What up, man?
Hope everyone's doing well.
Yes, sir.
But I was just gonna say, I think with I was kind of listening to the pod a little while ago. I was listening to Pickle talk about there's no future right now for the team, and I just think you have to take it like drive by drive, quarter by quarter, game by game. Like really, just try to live in the moment and try not to think too much ahead. Like as negative as we've all been down on the team right now, at the same time, Strats could be right. Steve Wilkes turned it around 1 year. And granted, he came in, but you never know. Maybe Dave Canales just we flipped the switch and we win the last 6 out of 8 games. So anything is still possible. It is, like Dee said, it's only one game. I just think we'd hope the team would get blown out. I mean, not get blown out in the manner that they did this week. So I don't think we're gonna lose, like Cole said, 20-3. I think it'll be a closer game than everyone thinks.
Yeah, no, I agree. Christian, welcome to the Friday Free for All. What are your thoughts on this Sunday, dude?
Hey everyone. I was listening on my drive home from work, and I'm listening now, and I know everyone's somber. We're really dragging ass, and I could sit here and try and prep everyone up, but I gotta say, man, if these team meetings are anything like what we're trying to console each other as fans, and I think we're in trouble, because what I saw on the field on Sunday was utter trash. That was ridiculous. I do not think, I'm not here to disagree or try to rant and rave at all. I'm just trying to state my opinion that I don't think the Saints are that good. I think they're a decent team, but what I saw was players fall all over each other, people out of position on defense. That was disgusting to watch, an embarrassment. I've never seen that on an NFL team, to be completely frank. And we expected more from our offense. So, we're all disappointed in Bryce because he was the number 1 pick. Hey, by the way, I'm sorry about my camera. I went into settings and I thought I was looking as pretty as Pickle over there, but for some reason it's not translating over to StreamYard. But yeah, I'm not going to sit. I could try and hype you guys up, because I think what we got to do as fans is hype each other up, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm used to life being like Rocky Balboa, where I'm just getting the shit kicked out of me all the fucking time, and Rocky won, and just asking Adrian if I can get some more. It's ridiculous, man, but we hype each other up like Captain America. I could do this all fucking day, but I have to be able to speak the truth in what I saw. And it's disappointing. We've all said it till we're blue in the face about Bryce. I don't, there's nothing else to say. I mean, I just hope he can kind of show us something that we can hang our hat on. I don't think that as a professional NFL player, that you need that much time to gel with your fellow teammates. You're gelling with timing and practice. You're doing it for one series in the preseason, but maybe it was just nerves or something. But I'm hoping we'll see more. But I'm a little nervous, but I'll be here to take every punch. Sorry, I'm off my little.
That was great.
No, you're good, bro.
I was
good.
Well said.
Even I was so surprised. I did not expect him to play that bad. I came into the season thinking he would look better off the bat than last year, but I mean that was his worst game of his career. And dude, we've got to play these guys in the preseason going forward, man. I'm just seeing too many instances where Patrick Mahomes out there, and then week 1 he just looks sharp on all the throws. He's not missing anything. Granted, I think he had 1 bad pick, and it is Patrick Mahomes, so it's kind of not the greatest, example. But
what's really funny with Patrick?
sloppy.
He scored less points than Jay Love did, because I know that because I played Pickle this week, and he only got 16, and I got 18 from Jay Love.
But I won the.
I know that, but he got injured at the very end, and you won maybe 2 points. 2 points or something minuscule, and I had 2 12-pointers sitting on the bench.
It's like some people said NC State would win, and they didn't. but nobody.
I also saw you.
Oh my God! I'm in here being
Hold on.
fucking cordial as hell,
Hey,
and
Pickle.
you just
I
about
saw
ready for me
you,
to blow
Pickle.
a fucking fuse.
That's why Pickle's the best. That's why Pickle's the best.
Pickle was hanging out.
Hey, Pickle, you deserve an ice cream cone, brother.
98 the motherfucking 20 Panther Pickle is what I had shoved up my ass last week, and I am not happy about it. 98 to motherfucking 20.
You got to
in
reach
2
out to Pickle
games.
because what he does before the game is he goes into this channel of fantasy football channel and he asks them all the questions, and I caught the tail end of it. I was trying to catch your strategy to figure out what you were asking them.
I'm just saying you have to be careful with fantasy because like the Bills decimated the Dolphins and Josh Allen Josh Allen got like 9 fantasy points.
We didn't even talk about Tua tonight.
I'm praying for him, by the way. Shout out to Tua, praying for him.
Same.
And I clicked OK. I thought
I'm just messing with you, Pickle. I'm just
I
messing
had
with you.
no idea. I had no idea what I was doing on there.
I'm just messing with you.
No, I really didn't. I don't know how I got on there. I don't know how I was invited. I don't know.
Okay, Shannon Sharp, what the hell are you doing?
Hey, I had my clothes on.
Now, if that shit would have happened to Pickle, I could believe that shit.
I was trying to be stealthy in the channel. I was hoping he wouldn't notice me.
You think the Shannon Sharp reaction was bad? You
I have a
see Pickle naked on the internet. That's bad. That's nasty. That's just no.
I have a conspiracy about Shay Shay, but I'll tell you off air.
Did he actually get fired?
I felt like that was done on purpose, and I'll explain why later.
I haven't heard nothing about it yet, Kyle.
I think so too,
they're
Flo.
not going to fire him.
Christian, you probably get I'll probably get what I'm getting at.
What did they fire?
It's all for clicks, man. It's all for clicks. They didn't even have to show any skin either.
And he said he was hacked. Like I mean,
and they dropped merch today. Have y'all seen the merch?
No.
Oh, dude, they got T-shirts, man.
There's merch.
Is
and
it
him and Ocho. Yeah, it's clean. Hey, it's clean enough. You can post it in the chat. Somebody post it. It's all right.
Did he leave his camera on?
It's funny. It's funny.
Is it something that says something about? Oh yeah, that's my Michelle.
That's one of them. That's one of the two. Yes, that's one of the two. Absolutely.
What did Paul Pierce get fired for? Didn't he get fired for something like that too?
He got angry last night when Shannon still had a job.
Yeah, I know they fired him for some shit like that.
Hey, of all people, I'm about to give y'all a bright spot right now. Are you ready for a bright spot?
Yes, sir.
Is it like a Hertz donut? Because I don't want one of those.
Yeah, see if they get beat again.
I'm genuine, and it's not going to hurt your feelings. Kirk Cousins has 17 yards passing in the second half last week, maybe 18, but no more.
Yeah, he doesn't
20.
look very good. I mean, I'm not surprised that it's going to take some time for him to click.
At least the Falcons lost.
Yeah.
Also, Tua has more interceptions than Bryce this year so far.
Yeah. I'm still praying for that dude. That's scary to have that many concussions.
Raise your hand if you got Tua and CMC in fantasy.
I told.
I'm sorry. That was my team.
Yes, Pickle. Yes, we're dead, baby. We're tanking for the one already.
Listen, I told people not to take CMC simply just. I don't know, dude. I remember taking Antonio Brown the year he was on the Madden cover, and I'm pretty sure like he got cut from the Raiders during training camp and screwed me over. So
I took
was like,
CMC, but I got really lucky and got Mason too.
Oh yeah,
Kenneth
then that's
Walker ain't
that's
playing.
a great handcuff.
Nope.
I wouldn't wish injury on nobody, but man, it's karma, man. Because as soon as we made that trade to 49ers, there were so many 49er fans. We won that trade by a long shot. We damn took their everything from.
I can't even remember what we did with that shit now. Who did we get for CMC?
Oh, we wasted so many picks, dude. We wasted so many picks. Yep.
Cheers! We lost another one.
Yeah,
The trade was CMC or Brian Burns.
On top of that shit with the video we did the other night, that is why everything is messed up. It is the goofiest shit I've ever seen in my life. It's on the field, but off the field's been worse.
We got one first round, right? And then we got a
We didn't get a first
No,
round.
we didn't get a first round.
We didn't get a first.
For CMC, we didn't get a first round. Oh, you guys ruined my night.
See?
Oh wow. Oh yeah.
You got to keep in mind it was coming off of 2 back-to-back years of injury plagued.
Yep.
I think it was on his 3rd season of the
It was.
potential injury bug.
But stand your
It was at least
fucking
2.
ground.
It was at least 2.
Well, y'all-
CK. It was at least 2.
Have a fucking backbone, because holy shit, he was in the front running for MVP last year.
No, Strats, we
How
know
does
he's
Fitterer
elite.
not have a backbone?
And like, this is the thing. To CK's point, like, the context of that is, I remember, like, it was either a late first-round pick from the Bills, which was going to end up being, like, 28th that year, or you
I would
4
took
picks.
that.
So the front office is like, well, we'd rather just have 4 shots at the apple than, 1 player, I think. I think that's what the logic was. So.
Well, and I think it fell by the wayside because what ended up happening is our run game popped off and Wilkes took over. So the travesty of all of it like shifted because the limelight was, oh my God, we're actually doing well. We haven't in like 3 years. So we almost kind of like, I forgot that, I mean, knew that trade happened, but I forgot what we got for it. And
So we've
really
fumbled
man.
the last 3 big trades that we've had. We've fumbled, and I mean, like as a fan, like I'm really watching right now, just week 1, and I'm not saying this is going to carry through the rest of the season. I'm just saying after week 1, I'm looking at the Dante Jackson for Deontay Johnson trade, and I'm seeing that Deontay Johnson did not perform as well as
he was
Dante
in
Jackson. Dante Jackson
There's a-
was top 4 in PFF grade when he played his game against for the Steelers last week. So
There was a PFF, I guess it was a grade or something like that, but I think he was bottom 4 or something. He was there. I forget exactly how the stat read, but one of you guys retweeted it and quoted it. Do you not remember this? It was like a day or 2 ago. It was like 30 or something. It was really, really low.
The only way Dante Johnson could have a great score is if somebody throws him the damn ball.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Nobody throws him the ball, then he ain't going to have a good score. And even if Dante Jackson gets burned 5 times and he gets 1 pick, his score goes higher than anybody else because he got that 1 pick.
Hey guys, I'd like to. I know you guys heard me say before, but we need to remember just how often CMC was injured before we traded him.
Yes.
I thought you were going to say the Titans. We need to remember the Titans.
Yeah, of course I was, Trent.
I might watch
So,
that.
come on, like, I mean, if he would have gotten injured with the 49ers, it would
He
be an
is injured
afterthought.
with the 49ers.
Well, now
It might
he
be
is, but
cool.
last year he was close to an
he is
MVP.
now.
Yeah,
So-
he's had 2 injury seasons, and last year he was healthy for 2.
If his
And like, yeah,
Achilles
he's
injury
injured
turns
right
into
now.
tendonitis, it's over.
See, I just honestly, I know hindsight's 2020, but at the time, as much as I love CMC, I truly did. I actually didn't even want him in the draft, even though I did like him out of Stanford. At that time, I was in full agreement with that trade. Call me dumb, but I get that he's proved us wrong. But we can't look back on it like we were dumb at the time, in my opinion. He was always injured, bro. I don't know. I question whether or not he even wanted to play.
I was all right with that trade as well.
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep in mind that is also it looks like it was a bad trade in hindsight. We can look back, and that's only because he's in that offense that is when you saw it work without him. Did you see the run game without CMC? They didn't miss a beat.
Exactly.
They didn't miss a beat.
Oh, you're talking about this week.
Well,
yeah.
and it goes back, CK, to what we talked about at the beginning, right? Where we speculated, like, sometimes when you have a player that takes all the weight of this kind of thing, when they get injured or they leave or get traded or whatever it is, or retire, sometimes you can find other stars for it. It gives more allotment to the scope of being able to find these other players, these other gems in the rough, as someone else had said earlier, that pop up and have more snaps to showcase their talents.
The only thing I wish was that I think even cap wise, we could have found a way to keep him. And if we take the injuries out of it, I just wish we had an offense where he could have been used more as like a slot receiver type. Just like call me stupid. We weren't using him right. He was
Stupid.
up and injured. It's just the hindsight that makes it hurt more. That's all. But I think we got almost an entire draft, right? Besides the first round, maybe a seventh round.
That's the problem though, is that we wasted in draft picks because we just couldn't draft. Terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, let's cut the BS. We traded Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore for Bryce Young. How'd that work out?
Ow!
It's just such a it's a surface way of looking at it, because it wasn't just Bryce Young that CMC was traded for.
True.
There were parts of the CMC trade that were helpful for getting Bryce Young, but for the most part, it was draft picks and DJ Moore. Like everything else is, it was like you got to keep in mind, we traded a first, we traded another first, and we traded DJ Moore. That's really all we traded to get.
I mean, we hashed it out at length for a year.
No, listen, I agree. Like, my whole thing, and like, I was one of the greedy people with wanting a quarterback, which I admit I was wrong. Like, Kevin, we talk about this Bryce Young, that. Really, we should be talking about how people that didn't want to trade up were the ones that were right in the beginning. And then, that includes people like Pickle too, and Kevin that said we weren't ready. But like, my only thing with the trade I didn't like was how we traded our offense for the quarterback. That was my only thing I didn't really get down with.
You wanted to build a team up first. I remember you saying that.
Yeah,
it's going to take so long.
Yeah, I think we got a little bit. Number one, I think it was at the directive of Dave Tepper, right? I don't think we make that much of an aggressive move if you don't have if you don't have an owner that's like pushing the buttons to say we need to get a quarterback. Let's be real about it. If you talk about the money that this team is making, there hasn't been a team since CMC left. There hasn't been a player that you would say is selling jerseys. Like, Bryce Young sold jerseys because he was the number one overall pick for 1 year. I can promise you nobody's buying his jersey right now.
That's true, but I don't know. We don't know how they're doing all of their accounting and stuff, and so maybe. I don't know. He just went into the meeting last year. Was it the beginning of last year where he was like, "I brought Beyonce here," right? So he's got the soccer thing going on.
To the city.
So if he's looking at it like a businessman, which he must be, I would imagine, he's looking at the totality of all of the investments and assets he has.
Sure. I agree with that. I think the point of that is of my statement is, number one, I don't like the mindset that we're using, so for instance, Brad Holt, he's talking about we traded Caleb Williams for Bryce Young. Like, that's just such a weird, that's like saying that if you pick somebody at 16 and there's somebody who was there at 15 that turned out to be a superstar, that you just decided not to pick that person at 15 or that goes later on. Let's just say let's go back to, I don't know, any draft, and let's talk about any first round pick we've ever picked and how many times there's been at least one superstar in the second, third, or fourth that was taken, and everybody always brings up, we could have taken him, and we could have had this person. We could have had this
hate
person.
that shit sometimes. CK, I feel you.
You can't. That's so revisionist history, because nobody thought we were going to get the number one overall pick when we drafted Bryce Young and traded this year's last year's first round draft pick. Not a single person thought that,
because he wasn't supposed to suck that bad.
It's also a dumb argument, because it's like placing sports bets and being like, well, I could have done. It's like, but you didn't.
Right. But that's the point being is, like, when you're drafting, yes, you're taking a risk. But here's the thing: is I don't think we whiffed on the drafts. I think we just haven't had the personnel to develop the players in the way that they're supposed to be developed.
What's that mean?
I get the twofold. I think that's half of it. Yeah.
I'm doing the Leo meme, CK. What you just said right there, development.
Yeah.
Here's one positive I found.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, how can you develop if you get rid of the coach every year? Sorry.
No, it's fine. This gets overlooked, but remember, Dan fired some of the scout people after this past draft.
That's huge. I was angry about that.
Strategy
that they stayed.
Draft, that's something to look forward to. Maybe he realized, hey, we're just not getting it done with developing some of these players.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something. And then something else I want to talk about real quick. I'm watching this Arizona wide receiver right now.
He's
I see some
awesome.
people
What's
on-
his name,
Oh my
Anthony?
God, bro.
Because people are
He's-
talking about him. I just heard
he's
about
really
him like
good.
2 days
Crazy.
ago.
He's
He's
crazy.
No, he's crazy. His name's like Ted McMillan, but even
Yeah.
coming as a guy that loves wide receivers and loves the offense, taking him won't solve. Isn't probably the smart move to do at all. So like, I think fans just want it for the sell, maybe like the selling jerseys aspect, or like he's a cool player, or like he just bring a swag to the team. But realistically, like drafting a D lineman or O lineman, building in and through, then out, like as a team,
Yep.
like that could be a smart move. Like, so I think there is some stuff to hang our hat on. I just think it's not in these next 4 months. I mean, again, things could change. Strats could be right. Like we could come out there next week and like we could come out and lose on like a game-winning touchdown by Justin Herbert, and the fan base would not feel nearly as bad as we did last week. So
Right. I want to ask you guys, because now we have the fallout and trying to bring this back to this week and the Panthers right now. Now that we have the fallout of week 1, what do you think the ceiling is for this team, and what are your true expectations for the final record of the Panthers by the end of the year? So I want to hear what your best, like, what do you feel like is the ceiling for, like, if everything goes right, like, what do you think is the most likely, if things do work out, people pull it together, what you've seen on the field so far, what is the record that's the best case, and what is the reality as far as your record is what
Jake hasn't talked in a while. Jake, he's shaking his head too. Look, he's ready
I don't
to
even
go.
want to. I don't even want to answer this question, man, because if we're basing off right now, we're looking at 0-17.
No, that's your realistic. That's your realistic. I'm asking best case scenario. Like, so what do you think is, like, if you were trying to be optimistic, what do you think if everything goes the right way with this team, with what you see on it, everybody just like the play calling clicks, these guys start to pull it together a little bit. What do you think?
We get
the best,
8 wins.
ceiling?
8 wins.
Okay.
8 wins. That's my ceiling.
Okay, but 0-17 is your prediction.
I think we win about 3-4 games. I think that's gonna be a bottom line, but yeah,
improvement from last year.
I'll go right ahead. 'Cause mine's the same. Like I think 4 wins is my hope.
Oh, Anthony, bitch, you. I'm with you though. That was my exact number. I hate to say
I
it.
think if you double, like most fans, like I think realistically, like if we tripled our win total from last year, like that's a successful season.
Mm-hmm.
So,
no, I'm with y'all on that. I'm gonna jump in here on that one. Yeah, all the fans have said repeatedly over and over from all the Panthers fans that I listen to, and it's a ton of them. It's between 4 and 7 wins. So I want to get in right now and say I'm with you guys. We'll probably win 4, and maybe we can win 7. So I'm with
CK,
the
I
fans.
felt nasty with that number in my head too, sir. I didn't like it.
Okay.
And
so
I lost over half my wins, dude. I thought we could get 7 or 8. I'm not even gonna lie to you, bro. And now I think we're gonna get 4, and it's probably gonna be 2. It's gonna be really real.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna say my floor is 1, like one win for my floor, because I don't think we go 0 in anything. But if worst case scenario, I still think we win 1 game. But I would definitely say that my ceiling, if everything works the way that it's supposed to and everything goes and everything gels together, I would say between 7 and 8 wins would be realistic, that we could win, if everything has proper cohesion and execution.
So I'll give you mine. The ceiling I have is much more optimistic, and the ceiling, I'm not saying this is realistic, but my ceiling is 9 wins. Okay. And the reason I say that is because I think there's realistically 8 games that are just not winnable. Like they're just, we're not, like, I just don't, no matter how good, based on what we saw on the field, the talent going the way that it should go, like if they play, to their ceiling from what we've seen so far, I just think even in that case, their worst
one of
game
those the
against
Chiefs game?
Yeah, one of the Chiefs games. I don't think that we have a chance against
Cowboys.
Dallas. Yeah, it's just.
Here's the thing, though. Can I just interject one small point to that?
Yeah.
And I don't want to be pessimistic or rude or mean or wishful thinking. I don't want that to come off like that. I don't want any player to ever be injured in the NFL, because first and foremost is shitty, but second is just like, I'd rather beat you at your strength, but or have our team but beat you at your strength. And then you don't get to make excuses. Well, he wasn't in that game. But theoretically, I mean, like, we don't know what happens if Mahomes somehow had a lower calf or ankle injury in week 6. Like, then that changes the prerogative of what's possible in week 8 or whatever it is. But so that was the only point.
No, I mean, you're right. But if we were taking a snapshot of what we see the schedule as right now, all the potentials out of the equation, I think, again, ceiling is 9. Now the realistic number I have, I'm going to go with, I think these guys get it together a little bit more. So I think it's going to be more realistic that we're going to be around the 5-win mark than anything more than that. But we'll see, man. That's kind of my where I'm at. Again, I'm optimistic that we'll hit that 9-win mark, but that's only wishful thinking at this point.
Could I bring up a comparison real quick before? Yeah. Okay, because the first year in that rule, like, I had fun watching that team. Like, even though we went 5-11 or 5-11, like, we lost 8 games by 7 points or less. Like, if the team's in these games and competing like that should give us hope going into the next season. I keep sounding like a broken record, but there could be I think there's like 4 games we can for sure win, and then I think like the other 5, like if 9 was the ceiling, could be like coin flips.
Right.
That's what I mean. In a scenario where like it could be a close game if the team gets it together and they're rallying around Coach Canales, like, and they like still play like they're fighting for something.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that again, at the end of the day, this is all speculation, but I think all of your points are fair. I think that I'm not dogging anybody who has a mindset that we're going to go 0-17 or 2-15 or anything like that. There's nothing this team is, that has showed that has made me be able to, refute that thought that you have, or that fear. I would say even a fear, not even like a predict. That's like almost a fear that we're going to be being that bad until we prove ourselves. I think all of those predictions are warranted. I have a gut feeling, and then I've been wrong on these before, but my gut feeling is that this team is going to be better than we're anticipating right now. I know we thought that at the beginning of the season, but I think that still can be true. We've seen people get blown out in the first game of the season and still turn out to be a good team, even when
make the playoffs. Actually,
the playoffs, and the week 1 doesn't make your team. It certainly doesn't help, and it certainly doesn't help Panthers fans, mental health. But I'll tell you what, week 1 is not the measuring stick of who you're going to be for 17 games.
Hey, CK, so can I chime in?
Yeah, go ahead, dude.
I know what I just said when I hopped on, but I'm not disagreeing with CK because he's one of the C3 daddies. I'm telling you, this schedule. This is why it's so frustrating, because if everything CK laid out, which is the complete opposite of what we saw on Sunday, but if things are clicking and people are working together and you got a team, we could. 10, 11 wins is not impossible. 6 losses. I'm looking at the schedule, but that's the problem. That's why it's infuriating, because that is not what we saw. No. So realistically, based on what we saw and what I think some certain players' capabilities are, like, I'm looking at a bad season. I don't even want to say it. So
say 0-17.
No, well, yeah. If all I saw was that the rest of the season, that's just a given in my book. But that's why it's so fucking.
Do you think that's realistic that you would see that the rest of the season? It's impossible to know, but in your gut, do you think you'll see that?
See what? Everyone clicking?
No, the
No,
opposite
no,
of
the-
the
you think
other
you're
one
gonna
that you were
see what-
saying, the bad
No,
one.
because I'm just a firm believer in any given Sunday. Personally, I mean, I'm a firm believer in team play and working together, and it just sucks that we didn't see any of that. So there'd have to be a major 180, but it's not impossible. I mean, maybe it was just the perfect storm on Sunday that that just hurt. So
Could
it
be.
was 100% a perfect storm, and the thing is that it was also he was one of the ingredients of that storm getting to be perfect. Unfortunately, here's the thing, and we all come out of Sunday knowing this. Bryce Young was a part of that loss. There's nobody that can say that he wasn't. There's not a single person that
G
can
Baby
point
has joined the chat.
It was earth shattering.
Yeah, it
I
was.
think even G Baby will admit it at this point.
Right.
There's no shaking.
So he Bryce Young played his part, but I think he was 153rd the reason why they lost. And what I mean by that is every single player on
Everybody
that
the roster. Yep.
it was everybody played bad. And it's going to fall on his shoulders because he's the number one. Like, you can't elevate. He's throwing that 2 picks and things like that, right? But he was 153rd the reason, because it was special teams, it was defense, it was offense, and at the end of the day, he's got to be better. And I'm confident that he will pick it back up. Do I think is my belief or my faith that he is going to be capable of being a franchise guy dwindling? Absolutely. My belief is that his ceiling is he's not even going to be potential. Like, based on what we've seen so far, I don't know that he's going to be able to reach Brock Purdy level, which, is a concern. I don't know that he's going to be able to reach Teddy Bridgewater level. And so, but I do think that he has the potential to be a quarterback in this league that is, considered average, at least as of now. I'm hoping that changes because as you guys all know, I've maintained faith that this guy is going to come out here and change the narrative. You don't get drafted first overall, without having traits that, that should translate to the NFL. And if anybody, I know people are upset about his height and all of that stuff, and maybe didn't like him for that perspective, but you've got to keep in mind, everyone wants to talk about, he was a product of the talent around him. Can I tell you what? Alabama wanted Bryce Young, and they go after the best quarterbacks in the country. They wanted him too. So you can't just argue that it's because of Alabama that he's successful. Bryce Young has been a winner everywhere he's gone.
Even in high school.
Yeah, and so it's.
I don't think he ever lost in high school.
Right, and so that's the point. Is we've got to realize that as much as we hate the idea of throwing our towel or throwing our whatever you want to call it, putting our wagon behind that horse again. I mean, the dude still has the potential. We've got to look at it and actually be fair to, allow him to have more than just one game this season before we start determining that.
You know what I want to see from Bryce? I need to see a fuck you attitude. I need to see I'm sick of this shit and I'm a man. I'm going to handle my shit going forward. I'm going to grab the bull by the horns. And when I see it, I'm going to tell everyone at C3, you guys could retweet me if you want. Follow these guys. If I see it in his eyes, I'll tell you guys when I'm like, we're about to see something.
I feel that.
You could usually see it in someone's eyes, man. And I think
that's my problem right now, too.
Yeah, I'm hearing it in. He doesn't have it. He's missing it.
That's my problem right there. You hit it
right
on the head.
I've expressed that concern. I've said
Another
it,
point to
multiple
CK's
times.
I was just
Go
going to
ahead.
say, we may also have to accept the fact that he may be here the following. Like, you never know. We don't know how the front office thinks. Like, they could be looking at this situation like, well, the first year was kind of a throwaway, so this year's technically his rookie year. Like, all these things that we don't know. And, he may end up being here next year. So, all we can do is hope he improves.
He'll be here next year.
There's a lot of.
He'll be here next year.
I do not think so.
He'll be here next year, bro.
There's a lot of arguments.
With every fiber of my being, and I'm telling you, without a question in my soul, that Bryce Young will be here next year. Now, do I think he's going to be a guaranteed starter?
Agree.
No, I don't. I think that there will be, if this season plays out the same way it's playing out now, there will be a quarterback competition in training camp next year, and Bryce Young will be one of the quarterbacks in that competition.
So, and I guess this comes down to like how I guess you're thinking about building out the team next year, or how they would think about building out the team next year. And clearly, would you say that quarterback is the problem here tonight, or for the past weekend, or there's other spots, right? There's other problems.
It's not just a problem.
That's part of the problem, though. That in itself is part of the problem. You can't build your team next year and throw away $12 million.
Yes. Well, yeah, but you also can't throw a QB into a position and be like, "Oh, it's fixed." So, there, what is your? It depends on all these variables. For one, is all the college games for this year have not played out, and you know that those influence how the draft picks go next year too. So. There's a lot of variables in this very complicated equation that we will not know until next year. And we'll start to see them happen through the season, and we'll get glimpses and highlights of things that will be like, oh shit. And, but you won't know until the end.
Here's the piece of this that I think, and this is why I believe this wholeheartedly. We have reached and reached and reached and reached and reached and reached and reached for talent and quarterback at the quarterback position so many times since Cam Newton's no longer been on this team. Okay. And what I mean by that, we have reached at every time we've reached more and more and more. Right. And why that's important for you to realize is because if we do end up with the number 1 overall pick this year, I promise you, we're not taking a quarterback at number 1 overall. They're not going to risk a generational talent to go and get a quarterback that's probably going to be predicted to go in the top, maybe outside of the top 15. They're not going to do it. They might trade back, and maybe we get some picks, and maybe
I hope that's what they do, CK.
Maybe they go after one of those QBs. Maybe they go after one of those QBs late in the draft. Who knows? And then they have an honest quarterback competition. But there's not a quarterback coming out of the draft this year that is considered generational. That is like, oh, we need this guy. There's not anybody who would even be able to who'd be able to be in the same locker room as Will Levis, right? For that matter. So let's again. I know that I don't follow college, so some people might have a disagreement with that. But that's the feeling I get. I get that this quarterback class coming out is more like the Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett draft, where these guys were like, oh, maybe we should we got hungry with quarterbacks at that when we were like, maybe we should take Malik Willis in the top 10. No, we shouldn't have. And it looked like it was nice there because of the pro day, but no, we shouldn't have.
And to speak to that, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
This is real quick because this adds right. Like there's someone in our community that I've been talking to that's close that has like some decent draft sources, and he was telling me like from an analyst he was talking to, like all these quarterbacks right now are 2nd round grades. Like granted, if one of them is gonna show out by the end of the season, it's gonna be like a Joe Burrow or Jaden Daniels situation. Like go back and look at the mock drafts like from last September. Like Jaden Daniels wasn't in the 1st round, let alone in the top 5. He just had a breakout season. So like Strat says, we're week 3 into the college season. Like anything can happen, and like anyone can just pop off. But again, like I thought about this too. Like what if what if they want to booster the offensive line? They go get that stud from LSU and then like feel more comfortable about a free agent quarterback and running the ball. Like you never know what they're going to do. There's a lot of options though. That's the best. That's a good thing. Like having the 1st overall pick, like that's a good thing, is that you have multiple options as opposed to like, oh, well, we have to take a quarterback because it's a need. Like I don't necessarily like, I mean, if it gets really, really bad to the point where like, like if we see like the Saints blueprint every game, like wide receivers are streaking open, like Canales is getting these guys open, O-line, they're all in like the 80s on PFF, then you probably gotta get a quarterback. That's all I gotta.
Get ready, my brothers.
Right. That's all I was saying. I was just getting into that. Like there's a reason that Cam Ward for the Miami Hurricanes, like he was eligible for the draft, and he signed up for the draft last year but he knew he couldn't compete against C.J. Stroud, against Bryce Young, against Will Levis, against Anthony Richardson. He knew it. So he, instead of going for the draft, he recommitted and went to Miami, went out of Wisconsin. He knew, and now he's top 4 this year. Like, he knew he didn't stand a chance against the rest of those quarterbacks. So why go in the draft at your 7th or 8th best when you could be 4th?
Considered a first-round draft pick when money is way different.
Now you're in
as
the
a
first-round
draft pick.
Yeah, now you're a first round. Now you're being considered for the first round. So, like, it definitely made sense for these guys. And it doesn't make a lot of sense for us to go get someone that was ranked worse than them last year. Whether Bryce is successful or not, that shows more on the team than it shows Bryce.
I'm just telling you that right now, based on what's happened, you got to keep in mind Dan Morgan is going to be the GM next year. It's just going to happen. And why that's important for you to know is he was here when we reached for Bryce. And he is not going to do that again. I am telling you, he 100%. Is. There is a chance that he trades back, but even if he trades,
I don't even think he was on board with that. CK.
Sure, he might not have been. He might not have been. But here's what I'll tell you: he even if he trades back and he picks up a quarterback in the late first or in the second round, one of these guys here coming out of the draft this year, it's still not a foregone conclusion that they are going to be the starter. They will be competition for Bryce. Bryce is still going to be on this roster next year. I want to reiterate that does not mean that I think he's going to be the starter. I don't know. One game into second season and a new offensive scheme after what he dealt with last year, I'm not prepared to throw him to the fire yet. Again, it's that fire's getting a little hot. It's starting to warm up, but I'm not ready to throw that in yet. I think if you ask me my opinion, I think we're not going to pass up on a generational talent on defense to try to do that, especially when you see what we have going on right now on defense. Because right now, in my opinion, that is a far bigger problem. At least Bryce Young scored a touchdown because this defense didn't stop the Saints once.
Yeah.
I would like to stop and run, CK. Bad.
I would like to shout out Supreme Leader Z with his membership for 24 months. It's sweet. 2 years with C3 Panthers Podcast. Like
thanks, big dog.
Keep pounding, y'all. Panthers pride till I die.
Heck yeah.
Shout out Supreme Leader Z.
Man. Al, by the way, Cody's not here. It's just me, CK. I mean, even though my name is Cody, but I'm assuming you mean Cody Lack. I just want to clarify a few people.
Other Cody.
What's going on? So Cody Lack is not here. There's been obviously a lot of stuff going on this week. Panthers not being good. There's a lot of drama on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. So he's taken a bit of a hiatus. Don't know how long. I'm hoping it's not a tremendous amount of time, but this is what we got. This is what we got, and we're gonna move forward with it. We got a bunch of people in here who've been holding down the fort. Man, I think what we'll do, because I got this Madden sim, and then I got to get to bed so I can get up early and go head down to Queen City there. Let's get everybody's final thoughts. And by the way, everybody, again, before we move through this, I am going to be doing the Madden sim immediately following this stream. I just got to get everything pulled up and set up, so it might be like 5 minutes, and then I'll be live. So just keep that. I've got the link pinned up there in the YouTube chat. Go there. It's and it'll be if you guys are interested, I'm going to be doing it at the 1440, so you can watch it in a bit more high resolution than you see us at now, and actually see the Madden sim. So that being said, let's start. Let's go backwards and let's go bottom right. Ant, tell me your final thoughts and what you're thinking.
Did you say me? Sorry.
Yeah, Ant. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Final thoughts. Yeah, we're gonna keep this train rolling, boys. C3 for life. You already know. Cody Lack, shout out to you, brother. Thanks for all the work you put in. Hope to see you back soon. And I just hope we can keep the game close, man. Let's hope for a competitive game. I'm gonna say. What?
I would say score prediction. I think you were probably going there anyway.
Yeah, I think honestly, like we all mentioned it earlier, but I think it's going to be 21-17 Chargers. I'm going with that.
Okay.
That's my final take. Keep pounding, boys.
All right, and I appreciate you, big dog. Christian, what do you got going? What's your final thoughts and what's your prediction?
Final thoughts are everyone's gonna fan how they fan. I'm someone who likes to vent, so I don't blow up. I I don't know. I just kind of grew up, in situations to where my little siblings would crack up when I was ranting and raving. So kind of what I did. But I will say this, you know, personal attacks, and not it's not addressing anyone. I've just seen stuff on X, and not just football, but in any argument, a personal attack just weakens your point. And it's not necessary. There's no reason to be ugly. If you got something to say because you want to show somebody some receipts you had, by all means do that. Like I've done it. There was someone who was giving me hell a year ago, so I've showed some receipts. But I'm always doing it like as a troll and having fun. But yeah, personal attacks. It's just it's not necessary. As far as prediction, I can't do the predictions, man. I don't. I mean, okay. I mean, I'll say what if we're lucky, we get 16 points and. It's a hard-fought battle, but I think the Chargers are going to win and probably get like 27-16.
Okay. I mean, it's still it's not a great, score to have because it's still 2, touchdowns, but it's certainly not 40 points. So I respect that. All right, Jake, tell me what you got going on.
Oh man, I'm gonna be a Carolina Panther fan till I die, man. Just it is what it is. The team ain't moving for 10 years. That deal was done, so we don't have to worry about that. And no matter how bad our team is, man, C3 community, no matter how bad or down you are, man, we all stick together, man. We always talk it out, and it helps, man. It honestly really does help to have people to talk to about our problems. And even outside of football, man, it helps to talk about what's going on in your life and stuff like that. And it's special what we got going on right now. And besides that, my score prediction is going to be 28-10 Chargers way. And besides that, y'all keep pounding.
I appreciate it, Jake. Strats, what you got for us?
I like Jake's take. But if I must come up with my own, I suppose. I don't know. I hope to see them bounce back, and I'll say we win. Let's go 21-14.
Okay. Still not the worst. Could be worse. I mean, the somebody had mentioned the weather with this Sunday. It doesn't look to be too bad. I think they've continued to reduce the amount of rain that they're going throughout the week. So I think it's going to turn out to be a pretty nice game. So I don't think it's going to be as problematic from the weather perspective. So I could still see, a bit of a higher scoring game if things get out of hand for the, in the favor of the Chargers. Pickle, what do you got, man?
17-14. We lose a close one.
Okay.
17-14. We lose a close one. What?
Any final thoughts on this week and anything you want to close out the week? Just kind of any emotions?
Just be good to each other, folks. Just be good to each other. If you wouldn't say to their face when you're staring at them eye to eye, don't say it online.
I absolutely agreed.
100%.
Cole, what you got for us, dog?
Oh, I'm going to be nice when I say this, but I do appreciate your stance on Bryce. I really do, because 99 times out of 100, I'm on your side, and the steps to go through that is a right way to do that. But being a fan of this long and watching our history, I just have a just nauseating just feeling in my stomach that it's going to end, and it's going to end really bad, and it's going to end really fast. I do believe if there's a quarterback that shows up in college, there's a few of them right now. I'm not even going to call their names because I don't want to start no shit. I do feel like they have a more live arm than Bryce Young. I really do. So I just think if we draft number 1, and then I'll let you kind of finish off my end. And if we draft number 1, I think there's a chance we get a quarterback. And I really want you to answer this question for me because I've listened to your stance. And I'm not saying he's going to. He's probably not going to. But what if Canales and Izzy both went up to Tepper and was like, look, dog, I want a quarterback. Who wins that?
I think that they win that, but I don't think they win it in the mindset of the draft. I think they win it in the mindset of going and getting a veteran quarterback.
Understood. So you think absolutely no way? I think they're going to pull the trigger if there's a quarterback good enough 1-1 overall.
I think there's too many. I think they're going to go generational talent more than they're going to go after a quarterback. I think they'll understand that this will be a bridge year, and they have that third year to be able to work towards. So I think they'll if they do anything, I think they're going to go after a veteran that will at least allow there to be kind of a movement in the right direction, or maybe just to allow that. I mean, if you're asking me, if Bryce is not the guy, I'm going straight. I want him to be the leader of this team next year, so we could actually get a top, another top 5 pick, and go after, one of the actual.
Would you do it next year? See, that's the only part we defer, because I'd rather get a QB out of this class if you're gonna do it, and I don't feel like you need to wait.
Yeah,
respectfully, but I'm with you. Like I said, 99 times out of 100, you're on the right route. But we are not in a traditional situation, and this is just how I feel about it.
Sure. And you said what was the pick? What's your?
I'm staying with it, and then I guess the weather did clear up. I was listening to older podcasts. I was listening to John Ellis' shit, and I was looking at the weather radar. But you're going there, so you probably know more about it than I do. But I'm gonna stick with it. It's still gonna be ugly. 20-3. Them.
20-3. All right. Kyle, I know we always wrap it up with D, so I'll go you, Kyle.
Absolutely. So, as always, great show. Love C3. Keep pounding that like button as y'all hang out with us and enjoy this fine content. I would say I'm going to change mine from earlier. I think it's going to be 28-13 Chargers. And I say that because I think they're going to get 4 touchdowns.
Okay. And I'm going to give you mine. I think, again, I told you I don't think that they're going to win, but I think this is going to be a competitive game. I don't think that our defense necessarily shows drastic improvements, especially with the loss of Derrick Brown. So I'm going to guess that we lose this game 35-28.
I love 28 points, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. So D's, man, wrap us up here, dude. Give me your final thoughts. Tell me. Let's start with your score prediction, so you can wrap us up with that uplifting final statement you always give.
You're right. We got to do that. Let's see. Don't feel. I said earlier in the show that if we scored 17 points on offense, that's an improvement, and we should start there. So, like I said, 17 points for the Panthers. I'm hoping we look a little better than we did last game, and certainly better than we did to end last season. And on defense, we got some things to work out still. We lost a Pro Bowl player last week, so that's kind of a downer for us. And I'm going to say, Chargers only get 24. The Panthers and rally around Clowney, and they try to get a little better on defense than they were last week, and we hold the Chargers 24. Even though it's a loss, it's an improvement, and that's okay. CK.
Absolutely. And what's your final thoughts?
Oh, Jake nailed it earlier. First of all, the C3 community is absolutely goated. The C3 community is where it's at, man. It's the best for podcasting. We've gathered here tonight, and I want you to know, if you want to get on next time, we're here on Fridays at 7 p.m. And if you've got a Panthers opinion, come give it here on the Friday Free For All. Join us next time. Until then, keep that energy. Number 51, Sam Mills. We're going to keep pounding each and every week. Let's go Panthers. And CK, the Madden simulation is up next, man. Ready to get into it. Let's go.
Absolutely. I appreciate everybody for joining. I'll be going live again. Just keep an eye out. There's that link in the chat. If you want to click that, I'll be there in about 5 minutes, and I'll do the live Madden simulation for the week. And right now, the Panthers are 1-0 in the Madden simulation. So if you're looking for a team to root for, we got you over there. Yeah, exactly. And by the way, that's just the roster is made up the way that Madden's got it made up. I don't make any adjustments. I just let them do their thing. I haven't got stats changed. I haven't done anything. So everything that happens is Madden's approach to everything. So come on over, take a look. I'm probably not going to be as animated as I was last week, as all of my kids are asleep upstairs, but we'll be enjoying that together. So until next time, Panthers fans, the Friday Free For All brothers, just have one thing to say: Hold on. Let me get the outro going.
Thanks for hosting, brother. You rock that shit.
Hey, I
Keep pounding,
appreciate
y'all.
it. Yeah, here it is. Here it is. Hold on. I got this Friday free for all outro I got to do. Hold on 1 second, guys. Hold on 1 second. I don't do this very often, as you guys can tell. Let me find it. All right, here we go. Yeah, keep pounding.